Mom, I'm coming home. I'm in the next chapter. Put away all my credentials. Then I crucified the actor. Traded all I thought I wanna be for what I know I'm supposed to be. Walking with the Lord, but know the devil's right in front of me. I still feel the sun shining on my shoulders.
Actually, you know what? I want to let people know who we're here with today. Adam, why don't you tell us about yourself? No,
yeah. So in the house today we have our good buddy Adam, who's really helped us out in this ministry.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Come and filled in when was it your honeymoon?
He was in Israel, actually.
In Israel.
Oh, I was in Israel.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it kind of was my honeymoon.
Second honeymoon.
Yeah.
That's right. And that was a good time. I was here.
Yeah.
And then you got to hear that study because we got to record that one. And then did you ever get a copy of that?
I don't think so, but
nobody wants to hear themselves teach.
Exactly. I mean, you could burn it. No, I'm just kidding.
Nah, some solid stuff. I enjoyed that.
So how's ministry, man?
It's been good. It's a different season, you know, for sure. Right now, the Lord is really teaching me a lot about to really know the state of your flock, you know. And as far as ministry goes, obviously being involved in various things. But right now, the Lord's really focusing my attention to home, you know, with my wife and what's going on. For many of you guys, I mean, probably don't know, but married with a wife and 2 boys now. So my house is just super chaotic.
If you don't mind, can we get in a little bit to how you met your wife? Is that cool, or how do you feel about that?
I don't feel anything anymore. I'm just kidding. No, that's awesome. You know what? It's a great testimony. Just meeting her, it's so crazy. I mean, I don't know how much time we have, but
we got time, bro.
Okay, so I met her in Bible college at Calvary Chapel, Golden Springs. It was super cool. In that time of my life, I gave my life to, or rededicated my life to the Lord, I would say, at 21. And that following year, 2012, I believe it was, so we're spending a class together. And I really wasn't looking for a wife or a girlfriend at the time. I was literally just fresh, you know, just seeking the Lord. I knew what he did in my life, and I just wanted to know more about him. And I wasn't looking for any type of relationship. I was just looking, you know, just to stop smoking, stop drinking, keep my pants on, and just focus on the Lord, right? That's what my heart was, and I just didn't want to do anything with anybody, just seek him.
Who was your teacher?
I had various teachers.
Okay, so you were just in Bible college.
Yeah, I was in Bible college. I think, I want to say, was that Didell's class? Or I know I had her with Pastor Jesse, you know. Rest in peace. I did have her at Pastor Jesse's class. I think it was Biblical Doctrines. And anyways, so I met her there, but we never really hung out. It wasn't really anything. And later on down the line, she would go to tell me that, oh, man, you were actually my first Christian crush, right? I was like, oh, now you tell me.
Really? Funny.
Yeah. So, you know, going on, it turns out like after the years went by, she was doing her thing. I was doing my thing. Both serving in ministry. There was a point in time in my life, we can get into it a little bit later, that I end up falling away from the Lord. I end up backsliding for a whole year, and then coming back to the Lord, and I believe it was 2016. That's when the Lord just like really showed me like, hey, you're either in or you're out, you know. And you know, just like Peter, what he said, it was like to Jesus about, Lord, where else can I go? You have the words to eternal life, you know. And that was me, you know, trying to go back to the world and wasn't fitting anymore. So I just, you know, Lord, I'm all in. So since then, went back to Bible college, by the grace of God, got to graduate. And that's when I really started getting more and more endowed in ministry. And that's when I really started to kind of cross paths, because she was really endowed in ministry. And she was serving alongside the women there and just involved in many things, you know. And it was during Camp Jubilee, one of the years, I forget now, I think 2018, not sure. But yeah, we got to serve with one another. I was John the Baptist, you know, and she was a character, I forget which one. But she was helping out, and it was so cool because we literally were just both on stage, like doing the acting and the playing, you know, we're serving the Lord, having a good time. But I was just rapping out with her, like backstage and stuff, like when we're like had downtime, and I'm like, dude, this chick is actually cool, you know, like she's not weird. I know sometimes you get involved in, you know, having relationships, you build relationships with the you know, girls at the church, even the guys. Some relationships you just don't jive with, right? Like it just doesn't click.
Yeah.
But I'm like, dude, she's like my people. Like she gets my stupid jokes, you know, she gets like where I'm coming from. We both had the kind of the similar background, you know, we, you know, lived party lifestyle, things like that. So she understood, like, I'm really lighthearted guy. I don't really take things too serious.
Yeah.
But you know, obviously when things need to get serious, obviously, but majority of the time I'm just, you know,
happy.
I like to be lighthearted. So yeah, we both really, you know, connected well. And then it was a person that came up to me. We're tearing down Camp Jubilee. It was already over. And then she was like, hey, I just want to let you know. It wasn't my wife saying this. It was another woman, an older woman. She was like, hey, I know who your wife's going to be. And I was like, what? I've never heard anyone tell me that. I'm like, okay, you're crazy. Like, how many people have you told that, right? She's like, I know who your wife's going to be. I'm like, well, tell me. She's like, no, the Lord's going to show you. I was like, okay. So then I'm like, okay, well, yeah. So praying. And then it turns out we end up exchanging numbers. I think it was previously that, you know, I had to return the costume or something. And she's like, oh, well, you know, we exchanged numbers. And
can I ask you something real quick? I don't mean to cut in your conversation, but when you say like that person said that to you, now obviously we come from a similar background where it's like we're not heavy into charismatic, like, oh, a word from the Lord kind of stuff. Not to say that we don't believe that stuff happens, but was your discernment that like this person doesn't know, or was it more just like that can't be true? Like did and I'm obviously I don't know who that person was. I don't need to know who that person was, but like I'm just curious, maybe for even somebody that might be in that place where they have some family members that are like very, oh, the Lord said this to me, said this was going to happen. And then you have other friends that are like really far from that, right? Like even being in a balanced ministry like Calvary Chapel, you have people sometimes that are like, they lean a little heavier away and some lean a little bit towards, even within a balanced ministry that doesn't emphasize on supernatural things. So I'm just curious, like at that time when that person said that to you, did it hit you like they don't know what they're talking about, that's not the way it works? Or did it hit you like, dang, like that felt like a deep truth, but I don't know what to make of that? I'm curious.
Yeah, no, that's good. When I hear things like that, I always take it to the Lord. You know, I think the scriptures even tell us to like test everything, test the spirits, right? And see if it's of God. If it's not, then, you know, it's not. And that's what I did. I'm like, that's weird. I've never heard it before. I mean, there was a sign of relief because I was already 28 at the time. You're looking for a wife in a sense, but not really looking.
Right,
you know
right,
what I mean?
I got
like,
you. Yeah, you're just
allowing
wondering
the
when.
Lord.
Yeah.
Like, Lord, I'm good now. Like, you know, I'm ready when you're ready.
I don't want to die alone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, I took it to the Lord, and then obviously in my own mind, okay, I'm trying to put the pieces together. Like, who was I hanging around with that night? Why would she say that? And you know what I mean? Trying to figure it out,
just in a natural way.
And then I was obviously talking to my wife Stephanie, you know, the whole time, the whole night. I'm like, it had to be her. But I was like, I'm just like a grain of salt. Took it with a grain of salt and just prayed about it. And then I end up, you know, talking to Steph or calling her. I'm like, hey, did anyone ever come up to you last night and tell you that that you met your husband? She's like, yeah, somebody did.
Wow.
So that same person told me that I know who your wife is, told her that I know who your husband is.
Dang.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this lady doing? You know, like I don't want there to be gossip or anything like that.
Or possibly even like killing your game at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Like hindering, you know, whatever God's going to do. Right. So, but no, I mean, it really truly came to pass, you know, and obviously like I bring everything to the Lord, you know, Lord, okay, this is what I heard. This is, you know, I would like to have a wife and show me who it is. And, you know, fast forwarding down the line, I end up asking her out. Is very, very simple. I think a lot of Christians make it so complicated to go on dates and stuff like that, but it's so simple. You obviously take it to the Lord, and I believe too they go in, and I was the same way. I really wanted to protect my reputation in a sense, because of men, you want to be good of good reputation, have good character, protect your integrity, and same with the women, right? They want to protect their integrity. So when you go about saying I'm praying for you, then the Lord must have showed you something, or you must be at peace about asking so on and so forth out, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, you know, and this is a bit of a stretch, but sometimes I feel like a lot of that, and I'm not saying, I don't mean this as an accusation against people that feel very on edge about dating or whatever, but sometimes I think we've built a stigma because of our sinful nature. In other words, we've removed the innocence from dating to such a degree that you're a snake or you're a dog anytime you say you show interest in a woman and want to take her out and go have some coffee or go have some dinner, you know. And if you were to remove this sort of foul stench that revolves around most young people, most people that are trying to date, then you would find a very innocent version of dating that I think a Christian doesn't have to wear like a black eye, even if that date ends up being like, you know what, that didn't work out or whatever. There's such a stigma that's been built around it that you have a lot of people that there is, and I want to be careful because I'm not just giving this liberty idea that, oh, date around, it's all good. But I think that, part of the stain that we wear in that is really, it speaks to the sinful nature, like just the rampant sinful ideas behind taking somebody out and what your intentions are. I've met people that are just honest, good people, don't have bad ideas in their heart, and they're just like, man, this is a godly woman, and I'm a godly man. Hey, would you like to get some coffee sometime? You know what I mean? And I don't think we should shoot that down as Christians, as we so often do in our culture. So I kind of get an idea of who you had been talking to because like probably Dave Nzunza is a person you spend time with. It seems that this podcast revolves around people who in one way or another know Dave in a weird way. Yeah. But to hear you say like you didn't need to make a big weird thing about it. You just keep it simple, didn't have to make it, over. I remember Dave telling me things like that too. Yeah. I don't know if that influenced you. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yeah, no, and what are you gonna say?
I was gonna ask you that exact question. Like, where do you feel like you were getting most of your guidance in as far as how to approach dating? Like, was it from people? Was it from your own devotional study? Was it a mixture of it? Like, where do you think the Lord was leading you?
I just Googled it, Christian date. No, I'm just kidding. No, obviously, I have really great a group of guys around me, and not that it's an inner circle, but you're tight knit with few people, right? And Pastor Dave being one of them as well. And he did, encourage me. Not that he was the one that said, "I know who your wife is," or right. But he was one of the guys I really went to with various things. What I was thinking, I'm still today accountable to him and to Minor as well, as you guys know. But yeah, he did. Like, he even told me, he's like, "Mijo, stop making this so complicated." He's all, "Do you like her?" I'm like, "Yeah." "Are you attracted to her?" "Yeah." "Okay, then what are you doing?" Like, she loves the Lord. She's serving God. She's reading books. That's like, dope. You're not going and searching for someone who's not even in the church. You know what I mean? She's here. She's part of leadership. She's doing her thing, and go ask her out.
And I just want to say that to any young people that are listening, maybe if you got a problem, an issue you're still struggling with, then hey, protect yourself, protect other people from those things. But listen. If you wear your Christianity, what it really is on the outward as what it is on the inside, then don't be afraid, dude. If you have a godly heart and you want to please the Lord and you are attracted to somebody and you see they're godly, by all means, dude, let's remove that stigma, making it nearly impossible for young people to just ask somebody out on a date, and just encourage people that are godly to be like, hey, this is okay. You know?
I think it goes back to what you were saying too about how we created this stigma because prior to the Lord, we're just running amok, right? Dating whoever, trying to do whatever.
You're hooking up. Like exactly. You're like, oh, this girl, I'll hook up with her. Let me ask her out.
Exactly. And then we're talking. When you say we're talking, that means we're like making out, right? That's what the terminology was back when I was like
Netflix or whatever.
So, but now like in the Lord, it's completely different, and you're seeking that whether it be if you're a man, you're seeking a woman. If you're a woman, you're seeking a man. That who is a godly person, and for myself, like, I knew that I was attracted to her. I knew that, she would be an awesome person. I love just hanging out and talking to her.
Yeah. And she showed characteristics for a long period of time as a godly woman, right? I mean, I could even attest to that. We know who Steph was, right? Like she carried herself as a person who was humble and not seeking the limelight and just carried herself in a very godly way. So I hear you on that. That's cool, dude.
Yeah. I mean, just like how you guys met your wives, and you saw, and the Lord just showed you that's a Proverbs 31 wife, that's a Proverbs 31 woman. And he really showed me that about my wife, and I was like, man, this is awesome. So the crazy thing was, it's like, okay, now I got to ask her out. How do I go about doing that? Dave, what do I do?
Dave, yeah.
That's funny. No, but it was funny because I was actually, during that time, he was living close to me. We were both staying in La Puente at the time. And so I was dropping him off at home, and we're just talking, you know, and then he got to pour into me, and we're rapping out. And he was like, man, like, if you don't ask her out, like, I should question. Yeah, you're a dummy. You should question yourself. And then he's like, so what are you gonna do me home? I'm like, I'm gonna ask her out. And then he's like, okay. So I dropped him off and I called her, right? And I was like, hey, how you doing? Blah blah. Just, you know, hey, I want to ask you, do you want to get some coffee? Maybe go to a cafe or something after Sunday night service. You know, I think that'd be cool. Like, I really enjoy spending time with you and hanging out with you and talking to you, and I want to get to know each other more. And that's simple like that, you know. And that was my intention. It wasn't like, you know, anything else but that. And I know that she's like, okay, well, you better know what you're doing because I don't do this, right? I'm like, I'm at peace about it. I mean, let me know if you are, if you're not. She's like, no, I want to go. I was like, all right, oh. Heck yeah. And then I was like, okay, by the way, I'm going to be gone for the next 4 days. Like, I was going on a trip.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So then I'm like, you might not hear me because I'm going hiking. I went hiking in the Grand Canyon.
Smart move.
Yeah. So then
let it marinate.
I know. Yeah, exactly. So then she was like, really? I'm like, yeah. So I ended up going on a trip with Minor and his family.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. We went to Havasupai Falls. I don't know if you guys you can Google it. You can see pictures of the waterfall. The water is like crystal clear. Like,
hey, write that down, Max.
Yeah, Havasupai Falls. It's kind of I don't know how it is. I just got invited, but
yeah,
I think you have to like book.
Well, whatever. Yeah, we'll figure that out. Right? Yeah, but still, it was a dope place.
It was a dope place, bro. And then so anyways, I go hiking, right?
Yeah.
The hike is like crazy, dude. It's like 18-mile hike, bro.
Oh my gosh.
Like
wait. Minor went on an 18-mile hike.
Yeah, bro. Believe it or I got photos to prove it, dude. It's like,
shout out Minor,
yeah,
dude.
Bro, he's a trooper, man.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Yeah, he held it down for sure. But so we get to the hike, and then we're coming back. The trip's already over. We're back in the van. We're driving home, right? And he tells me, he's like, you still gonna go on that date? I'm like, yeah, I am. He's like, bro, aren't you tired? I'm like, I am tired, but like, I want to hang out with her, dude. Like, that's how I knew, like, wasn't something. It was something different, you know. I didn't feel like this about any woman, you know. You know,
that's such an encouragement, bro. Because I think once your heart is set on the Lord, you know, and not in every case, but in many times and beautifully, dude, a person starts to like all the other reasons why he chased women start to be put away, right? And so then you could find yourself in a place where you're like, dude, I don't even feel like the way I used to. So you can, you know, you can really enjoy those little butterfly feelings, those little innocent things of just enjoying somebody's company, when those things are killed oftentimes in the mountain of lust and you know, perversion and chase and gossip and sharing stories with guys. Like, so much of that stuff is killed in the world. And, you know, I just want to say too, like, for many people, they always think that the Christian life is the boring life, and then like living out there in the world is like fulfilling. But I have found the opposite, dude, that when you drown yourself in overstimulating that dopamine gland with pornography and sex and random people and gossip and hearing people's stories and people exaggerating their stories of things that they did and all that, that you're actually stealing out of the beauty of life, because nothing ever matches, you know, what you're trying to chase. And I see people that are actually living these empty lives and achieving what seems to be more. And I remember the Lord restoring unto me, when I first started dating my wife, restoring unto me things that I thought only existed in like a little 12-year-old's mind, you know, where all of a sudden sitting next to somebody brings electricity and you feel your heart, you know, beating when you think they're coming around the corner, or they say, I'll see you there, and you're waiting to see them. And those are things that were lost in the world, you know. And so I just feel that I'm happy to hear you say these things, like, you know, how you were coming down from this trip and you're just thinking about this girl, and you know, you're excited. You know, you don't. It doesn't matter if you feel tired, because you want to go do this more than you want sleep. You know, and so that's super cool, bro.
Yeah.
You know, it encourages me because right now I'm in a place, like, newly married for a year and a few months now. And I'm in a place already. I should be like whining. Oh my gosh, dating my wife right now in this season that I'm in, and I struggle with that, dude. I really do. This Sunday we have it like scheduled, like, hey, like I want to take you out and really just bless you, because I feel like we're involved in ministry and all the things that you're referring to right now. It reminds me, dude, that man, that's where I think I fail in right now, in this little season that I'm in of just like work, and it's there definitely in my heart, like to do those things, but to make it a point, like, hey, like she's still, you know, the same woman, even better and more sharpened in the Lord. Now I'm still falling in love with her, but that's like super encouraging.
Yeah,
for
and
me
I'm sure
right
even
now.
for yourself, you revisit the story, right? And like, you know, you're. I mean, we'll get to that part later, but you're 2 kids deep. You're like been married, right?
Yeah.
Like you got, you know, responsibilities, finances, you know. But hearing your own story, you know, you're reminded of what God did and what He was doing. So, anyways, back to where we're at. You're coming down the mountain. You're like, I want to go date this girl. Yeah. And what was that like?
It was cool. And then, you know, we're texting. I finally got some cell service. And then she texts me. All the texts start flooding in, right? And then I'm reaching out to her. I'm like, hey, so are we still on for tonight? She's like, yeah. And she's like, aren't you tired, though? You hiked so long and blah, blah. I think on her end, she was a little bit nervous, too. Like, hey, if you don't want to go, then it's cool. Like, you know. But, and then, but I told her, no, I'm like, I want to see you. And then when I told her that, she was like, oh, man, she got butterflies in her stomach. Yeah, for sure. We were both just super excited. Yeah, exactly.
Going back and forth.
Exactly. The hard eyes and everything.
Hard eye emoji. Yeah. That's so corny, bro.
So yeah, I finally get to the house, get cleaned up, and then I go pick her up. And I'm very traditional, you know. I don't say, hey, I'm outside, come out. I go and I treat her with the utmost respect, you know. I see her as that's God's daughter, and I need to treat her as such, right? So then I go and, you know, I knock on the door, and she was so like blown away. Like in her past relationship, she's never had it like that. You know what I mean? So she was like, what the heck? That's so weird. Like, why would you knock? You should have just called me. And I'm like, no, I want to meet your dad. I want to meet your mom.
I was going to ask, what about the dad?
Yeah. So me and the dad and I, like, we're very similar. Like, he's so laid back. I consider myself laid back. Like he's like an old time like surfer dude. Like he's just chill, bro. Like easygoing, just super funny, just really great to get along with.
Now, does she have siblings?
She does. She has a brother and a twin sister, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So she's it's not identical, but fraternal. Fraternal. She's fraternal twin.
So she doesn't quite look like your sister, but they're right.
No.
Yeah,
But they were born literally at the same
crazy.
time. Yeah.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, not many people do, bro. It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta verify that.
Do they all go to? Do they all go to church?
So not necessarily. I mean, they go when they do go to a church. They go to that one.
Okay. That's probably why I didn't know.
Yeah. So they're still, you know, the Lord's still doing work in their lives.
Sure.
And, you know, we're obviously being a light to them, and they see what we're doing. You know, sometimes it's a hit or miss where they can't understand why you're going to church so often, but the Lord will work it out, and we just got to be faithful, you know?
Yeah.
But, you know, just resuming, I ended up asking her out. It was great. We went on the first date, and we were just at peace the whole time. You know, it wasn't awkward. You know, we got to talk, and it was just cool, and we just had a good time. After we ate, we were just trying to find something to do because we didn't want the night to end. We just wanted to continue to hang out, you know? And then it comes to a point, okay, I got to bring her home at a reasonable time, you know? And then dropped her off, and it was cool. We were texting, and it was after that we just hit it off, bro. And that's cool. You know, down the line, it turns out actually that she knew my cousins, and my cousins used to party back in the day. So this one, I think it was leading up to Thanksgiving. I invited her over to Thanksgiving, and then she's like, Danielle, she's like, Steph, what the heck? I haven't seen you forever. Like, where you been? Yeah. So it just felt like the Lord brought her at the right time, and she just fit into the family, dude. Because my family knew her, they liked her. She had a good reputation of my family, and my family doesn't know what I do at church a lot of the times, you know, or who I'm around at church. But it was so cool how God worked out that detail, you know. And there's so many details that He worked in the relationship and is continuing to doing. But it was just an awesome.
Now I'm curious, like on the timeline, like, are you already like a teacher when you meet her, or you're not at all?
No. I'm serving the Lord.
Just going to church all the time.
Yeah, going to church, part of leadership, and just serving. You know, I think I was serving in the children's ministry at the time, doing coordinating and teaching and things like that
for little kids and stuff. Or
okay.
Yeah. I'm just trying to get a vibe of, because there's a lot of stigmas that show up around really a lot of them are just put on us by people. You know, it's like once like you're in the position of like people see you as like a leader, then you're more careful or scared of what like people will think. Or
Right.
I remember dealing with a little bit of that, you know. And so I was curious if you met your wife and then together you kind of like started grow into your calling, or if it was more like, you know, you already had those things happening and then you met her, or something in the middle.
At the time, I was serving in the children's ministry. I was actually teaching the special needs, so I would serve in there for multiple years.
Wow.
And so then after, you know, meeting her,
Is that, I'm sorry to parentheses, but like, is that something that is a close place to your heart, or was it a need that you were just helping out and this was needed?
At first, I've been just open to the Lord, bro.
Right.
I continue to maneuver like that. Like, Lord, whatever you have for me, you know, whether it's picking up the trash.
Because that's a pretty tremendous, though. Like, special needs is like...
And it's pretty intense because I never would have actively like put myself there.
Yeah.
But I was like, Lord, whatever you have for me, you know. And I remember filling out that application to serve in the children's ministry, and I told my buddy, I'm like, this is the most important application I'll ever fill out because it's for the Lord, you know. So then I filled it out and I made sure like everything was perfect and it was neat. And I was
Now
just
that you
a
say
nerd
that,
at the time, but
I think that's where I first started to like really notice you.
yeah,
Because I think I
Yeah.
would go in there a couple times to
Yeah.
do worship, and I think I
Yeah.
saw you there.
yeah,
And that's where like I think the Lord just put in my heart like, this guy's doing it.
yeah,
Because people don't, for the most part, there's not a bunch of hands thrown up.
yeah.
Getting thrown up to go help with that
special
ministry.
needs.
Yeah.
No, and I fell
Yeah.
in love with the kids, bro. They were amazing, and a lot of them, I'm like, dude, why are you even in here? They're like super smart. I know it's so cliche because you hear it all the time, but it's legit, bro. Like,
Yeah.
some of them are so smart. There's this girl, I won't say her name, but she could memorize your birthday if you were to just to tell her. You know, I was like, hey, when's my birthday? Oh, it's February 2nd. Or
Wow,
when's my
that's
birthday? She
wild.
knows everyone's birthday in
That's
the entire
wild.
class. Like,
you know
week
what's
after week.
interesting, what I learned, because my wife kind of specializes in that. That's really what she did for a living when I met her. And, well, through the early stage of our marriage until we had kids and she got the chance to be at home, but which was her choice, by the way, not my, like, you need to be at home. I do feel strongly about that stuff, but I would have let my wife do whatever it is that she felt like she wanted to do. But I learned a lot about the spectrum in that season, and finding out that, you know, when there's like a certain area or certain thing that's lacking, it not only does it not always affect all the other areas, but sometimes actually comes with an increase in something other areas. So it's almost, you know, some of the learning disabilities or some of the people that are on the spectrum actually excel in some other places in a very crazy way, dude. Like, I shouldn't say crazy, but in a very unique way, you know. And so I learned a lot about that in that season with my wife. And so I know what you're saying. Like, you meet a kid and you're like, dude, this kid's like extra special.
Yeah.
Like, not just like, you know,
like he's gifted.
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean?
That's pretty trippy.
And
yeah,
there's other students there who you would give him a year and he'd know what day your birthday would fall on. You'd be like 2024, and he would tell you, oh, your birthday's gonna be on a Saturday, and you look up the calendar and it's a Saturday. I'm like, I don't know how.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, right. They're like brothers.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, I don't know how they
remember-
do it.
yeah,
I don't know how they do that. I'm just like blown away by that. And there's other
incredible.
kids. Obviously, some are nonverbal. You know,
Yeah.
some are very they have
Stemming, like
sensitive
yeah,
with
yeah.
with their touch and stuff like that. So the way you interact with them, the Lord would really teach me a lot about patience. You know, a lot about perseverance and just really having a love.
Which
you
in a
know?
weird way is application to just regular people that need to grow in the Lord, really, like God's sheep, you know. Because in a weird way, you start finding that, like, you meet grown people that have been married for years, have families, and then there's just these undealt with things in their lives, you know, and they don't want to look at them, they don't want to talk about that, or they keep changing the subject, or, you know, and so you have to have a heart and be able to adjust yourself sometimes to minister to people in a certain way. So I feel like some of that stuff might be yet to even still unfold in, like, the calling that God has in your life, or whatever he's doing, you know, in your life.
Yeah.
Interesting, dude. So you guys are dating. When does it get to the place where we're dating a long time, or you got married?
Not that long. I mean, my wife's gonna kill me because I don't know.
No, don't even trip about
Yeah, how
that.
long we're-
So, but
how long
you
we're
guys weren't dating like a really long time before you ended up getting married.
I mean, don't quote me on this. I want to say it was a year, maybe
Okay.
less or more.
Oh, dang. Okay.
Yeah, maybe
Somewhere like, yeah, but it wasn't like 5 years. you got
No,
married,
not
right?
at all. Because like when we first started dating, we knew our intentions. Like we were gonna get married.
Yeah.
Right.
That lady was right, dude.
Yeah. I know.
That's funny.
So,
shout out that lady. We don't know her name, but it's all, maybe we don't need to know. It's all good.
Yeah. So it was cool, you know. And then so then shortly after, and I asked her to be my girlfriend, and we continued. And then I was learning a lot in that season as well too. You know,
like tough times in your relationship, or
not necessarily tough time, but just self-discipline.
Okay.
You know,
yeah.
Obviously, when you guys are dating, you know, you guys become more comfortable with each other.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you like her, you want her for sure.
Yeah.
It's a
and
given.
then it's like, you know, I even told her, like, you know, not to get too graphic, but I'm like, hey, maybe we should stop kissing leading up to the wedding. This is, I've already proposed. We've already got engaged. And then I'm like, there's no point of this. You know, we get ourselves riled up, and then it's like, for what? You know?
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm
or
like,
just pushing yourself too close to a ledge.
Exactly.
You know?
And then you don't want to, you know, present her on the altar defiled, right?
Yeah,
you want to keep everything holy before the Lord and make sure you're doing, you know, everything.
Did Dave talk to you about the octopus arms?
Yeah, dude, that's funny.
It sounds familiar.
There's this terminology that I love to use that I learned from Dave, because one of the things that happens when you're talking to young men is that they always try to pretend that they don't know what you're talking about when it comes to what you know is in them, right? If they're not gay and they're attracted to a woman, they want her, bro. Like that's
right.
You don't have to try to pretend that's not true, you know. And unfortunately, another stigma created in the, you know, within Christianity. I don't want to say in Christianity, because Christianity done correctly doesn't breed that stuff, but within Christianity, unfortunately, you know, we've developed things that God didn't intend for there to be there. And so there's a sort of pretend I don't want my girlfriend thing going on, which is not true, right? It's not the way God made you. So one of the ways I always try to tell people to break the ice and not make this, to break down the stigma is like, look, dude, you got to be careful, right? Because when you're sitting, you get the octopus arms, dude, and they want to hug a little too much, and you know, you don't have to get into how close their hands or arms are. It's just them recognizing, like, hey, these are things that will creep up on you, dude. Right. Like, and you know it even if it's just a hug. You know what I mean? You know what they're talking about, and such a cool way to like, you got to be careful with the octopus arms, you know. And it's so true, because they know if they're even hugging and they haven't even kissed before, they know, they're like, that's true, you know what I mean? And so I've always dug that analogy. Dave gave me that one, and I was like, oh, for sure. And I remember making those adjustments too. You know, you're sitting in a car and you're talking, you put your hand on someone's thigh or whatever, you're laughing, and then all of a sudden you're like, you know what, that's stirring something up inside of me for sure. You know, like from now on, the conversations happen with you sitting in the car and me standing outside of the car, you know, or whatever, you know, whatever you draw your lines with, you know. And it really takes the realization that you telling yourself how much where you're really at when you're dating, because, you know, if you want godliness, if you desire godliness, then you desire to run from the ledges where you'll fall off a cliff. You know. And I always tell people, like, look, dude, like, don't let me impose my Christianity on you. Like, you love the Lord, you know that he's the only one that's got a plan for your life, and he's the one who can bless your marriage in the future. Dude, do it because you want those things. Like, I'm not going to follow you around with a camera, be asking you, hey, when's the last time you guys made out a little too much, you know? I'm not going to do that, you know? Keep yourself godly, keep yourself holy, dude. I think that comes a lot from the time we spent with Dave and Zunza, too, you know? It's like, keep it simple, bro. Like, be a godly man, you know, and walk and be transparent, too. Be honest. Like, you're only lying to yourself, you know? Like, and so, you know, that's I bring those things up too, because I hope that when I sit down with you guys, right, I see the next generation of leaders. Like, I'm not trying to put something on you, dude. You could be a father and be very effective, a husband, be a great husband and a great father, dude. God uses that in a tremendous way. Recently, I heard, we sat in a Bible study, and this guy said, he's like, hey, when you talk to people, don't just go too quickly to the calling in their life. Like, let them know that Jesus loves them, and you know that God's doing great things in their life and through their life. Like, apart from this idea that I'm gonna become something one day, I'm gonna do something one day, like, you are doing it in a way, you know. But I won't deny that I sense and I see, like, you know, the next generation of leaders, and I hope that we remember these things that some solid men taught us about. Absolutely. Removing some of those stigmas that exist there that shouldn't be there, really. Like, you know, we need to bring people to a healthy place where, you know, they're able to, with a clear conscience, go out on a date and be attracted to somebody, you know, because God made them that way. It's a beautiful thing, you know. So I love that your story includes that, bro. I mean, I'm kind of taking advantage in the conversation to like bring these things up, but I do that because I feel like that's a tremendous lesson that's being told through your story that I'm really enjoying hearing, you know, and I really want people to know that, you know. So super dope. So after a certain time, like, you guys end up getting married, right? I mean, is there something in there that? Yeah.
So no. Where did I leave off? We got engaged. You know, back to self-discipline, like as you were describing. It's very true. You know, obviously you don't want to fall into sin. You know, you're protecting her, and then you're leading her. You know, you said that's going to be your wife, and how you're going to lead your wife. You know, so you want to protect her heart, right? And that's the things, you know, Dave distilled in me, and other men distilled in me as well, letting me know, and you know, got to do that. And then we ended up getting married. We got married, and then, like, I would say a month after, like, COVID happened, right, and everything shut down.
So right after your
dude, like, we got married in January.
Did you guys get married around the same time?
Close. I got married April of last year.
Oh, so you're in
this year.
Oh, okay. Not
so you're 21.
Yeah, 2020.
Okay, so you're in 20.
Yeah.
20, yeah, 2020. Okay. So January 2020.
Okay, got you.
And then we get married, right? Even I think people were starting to get sick around that time.
Yep.
And then we go to the honeymoon, come back from the honeymoon, and everyone is just like, COVID. Now it's all over the place, right? And then they're like, what the heck? What are you talking about? And then I end up getting sick. I actually got sick on our honeymoon, dude. And it was...
You got COVID?
Before it was even COVID, like...
I got you.
Like, if I was a hipster, like, right. I'd say, like, I had COVID before it was a thing, you know?
Got you. That's funny, dude. Yeah, I got you. I do know people... There was two things. There was COVID was hitting people before they knew what COVID was.
Right.
And there also was a big flu or a big, like, illness that went around that time that was really taking people out that wasn't COVID too. So who knows, like, before it was like testing everywhere. You're just sick is what you know.
Exactly. You were just sick and you had the, you know, stuffy nose, a head, cold or whatever.
Yeah.
But anyways, so I remember being on the honeymoon and I'm like, dude, this is just horrible. Like, the first couple of nights were great. I think the last 2 nights were just like, dude, this
miserable.
How do we get home now? You know,
through sickness and health immediately.
Yeah, exactly, bro. Like, the Lord just like, okay, you're married, let's go. You know,
that's funny.
So
you're all snot out of your so much for the handsome guy.
Where'd you guys go? Where'd you guys go?
We went to Hawaii.
Oh
yeah. Nice. So we saved up, dude, and we were just like, okay, we bought the Costco deal, right, and then we ended up able to go.
That's dope.
Yeah, it was cool. So anyways, but, you know, got sick, came back, and then we went on a cruise ship while we were out there, and there's a bunch of people on there. A lot of the people were from you know, the Asian community, and I think me and Steph were the only ones who were like
who were Americans.
No, who were like Hispanic. You know what I mean? It was so weird because we're the only brown people on the boat. You know? I was like, dude, and then we're just like, okay, whatever. We're enjoying eating dinner, and then to come back, that's when there's the whole like flu came from Asia, all this stuff, or the COVID came from Asia.
Oh gosh.
So we're like, dude, I think we got it, you know? So anyways, we go to we come back home, everyone's screaming COVID. We're just like, what are you guys talking about, you know?
Did you guys have a place, like an apartment set up when you got back?
We did. That's a whole nother story. The Lord really worked it out, and he gave us a really great deal, actually. My wife's best friend, she works for a broker, and the broker has many properties like around everywhere.
And are you working for real estate at that time already?
I was, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so I was doing real estate.
You were already nonstop?
Nonstop. Yeah, I was already nonstop, bro.
Yeah.
And so we were going, and we, you know, her friend had this great deal that we can go and rent for super cheap right down the street here in San Dimas.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it was super cool. The Lord opened up the door, and we're like, oh, thank God. I didn't know where we're going to stay, right? So, and it was just a blessing, bro. Like, they removed the tenant because he wasn't paying rent or whatever the case was, right? And then he ended up leaving. They remodeled all of the inside.
Nice.
And then we just went into like a brand new place. I was like, wow, Lord, like, I could have never like thought of this, right?
I'm just curious because I'm still in the place I was. I still live at the same place I was when I got married, and that was years ago. Like, so, but did you miss that place when you left?
Well, we're still there now.
Oh, I thought you left that place. So you still live in that place?
No, we still live there now. Yeah,
right
yeah. We
on,
still
right
live there
on.
now. And we're praying, I'm trying to be
Okay.
like Sal, be a homeowner. Right?
You can tell, huh?
Yeah.
This is gonna turn into a real estate podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you guys want,
if you guys are looking to buy or sell. I'm just kidding. No, but,
That's funny, dude.
But yeah, so the Lord opened up the door for that place. And then, so we come back from the honeymoon. Everyone's talking about COVID. I end up getting sick. We actually had a 2-week honeymoon. The first week was Hawaii. The second week we were supposed to go to Mammoth because it's January, February.
Because Mammoth is dope.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's wintertime. My wife's never been there in the wintertime.
Oh,
I thought she would
gosh.
just love it, right? So I'm like, let's just go, babe, let's go. And I'm just like keeping my boogers in, like sniffling the whole time. Like, she's like, babe, you're sick. I'm like, we can still go snowboarding. She's like, no, we're not going anywhere. Just go to sleep, right? And I had to, and then we ended up getting rest. So then after that, good thing I got it before like March, April, because that's when, if you guys remember, not that this is about COVID, but they're throwing everybody on ventilators, right? And I figured like if I would have got it then, they would have tried to like,
They would have sent you would have been
but
not
that I'm a conspiracy theorist, but like just about what we've been seeing and what they've been showing us on
we're
the
all a
news.
little bit conspiracy.
Yeah, not that I'm conspiracy, but I'm right. No,
But
I'm
yeah, well, let me tell you a couple of conspiracies.
just kidding. No, but yeah. So we really got to really be really close together, right? Like the Lord just gave us like a crash course in marriage. I felt like because we were on a lockdown, not the lockdown being married, but a double lockdown because we're in COVID.
Yeah.
Even if we wanted to date or travel, we couldn't.
Wow.
We had to really limit ourselves to being home.
You guys were like Quakers, huh? Like,
Yeah, dude. I was like, we're gonna start churning butter in the backyard.
Funny.
So we got to really get to really know each other and just know each other's quirks and how we just operate inside the house. How we wash dishes, little things. You get to know as you spend time with each other. So then, fast forwarding, I think the end of that year, she ended up getting pregnant. Oh, she got pregnant early on, actually. I think it was like April, right? Or I don't know the time again, but my son was born on 2020 in December 23rd.
Wow.
Yeah. So like we spent like super close time together, right? And then boom, we had a COVID baby.
Wow.
And then shortly after we had another baby, Noah.
Now you guys had them really close to
Yeah.
each other, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
I
did.
remember because I was like, oh, they got a little baby. Like, wait, they got another little baby. You know what I mean? Like,
dude, I don't know what we were thinking, and we weren't at the time.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so be careful on the dates, bro.
That's funny. So I mean, like, just being a realist, like that fast, it's hard to be as excited, right? Because you're like, no, already again.
Yeah.
Like we didn't even like. Was that a tough time to go through?
Yeah, and just to kind of touch base on what you were talking about too, about dating your wife and kind of finding a hard time. Just enjoy it, bro. Because we did go on dates, and we still do, and it's always important. I guess you guys can agree too to go on dates, right?
Yeah, but I know where you're going.
Yeah, to enjoy that
Kids.
time, because when kids come in, he knows,
Yeah.
dude, like your attention is just them,
Right.
her, everyone's good. You're just trying to make your house not fall
And
apart.
I'm gonna be real. Her attention, particularly, is
It's
really
the kids.
them.
It's the kids. And you just got to roll with it. You
Yeah.
love your wife
Yeah.
to the very end, dude.
That's right.
And she's going to love that kid. And then, some of that spill might over to you.
Yeah, and
every
then
now
you're gonna have to relearn to love you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a good time. I'm learning a lot in this season too, because I'm learning about those things too.
Sure.
And it's like,
Self-
babe,
selfless
what
love,
about
yeah.
me? Like, can we talk? You're talking
Yes.
seems like every time we have a conversation, like she's screaming Titus or I'm screaming Noah, like,
Mhm.
So
And then sometimes you do that for so long, and I'm not putting words in your mouth. This happens often to people, though, that when you finally do get time alone, like you're like so used to your roles,
Right.
that it could just be like, you're just used to just
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
the parents together, and
exactly.
so it is important to date for,
Exactly.
for people that already have kids too. Like find whether it's a friend or utilize, because people always go there and they don't always mean it when they say it, but make them eat their words. If they're like, we'll watch anytime,
yeah.
like dude,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying to get out of your mess, but I'm saying proactively, not progress, not just to get away with something or get away from something, but proactively for your marriage. Like you do need that time. Super
Man,
important.
I struggle with just taking care of her dogs right now.
Well, I mean, that's nothing, bro. But let me
I
just
know,
say,
but
but you
like,
do
that's
have a lot
whole
on your plate,
gig.
bro. I mean,
Yeah.
they pay for this building, right? Like they this ministry, like both of them are workers. Like, they just bought a house, bro. Like, there's a lot on their plate. Even I've had to play the role of being like, nah, dude, back up of all these things you're doing, bro. Like, you know, we can't. Even podcasts had gotten put on the back burner for a season because, you know, it just, he was being pushed really hard. I don't know if you had a chance to share with him some of the stuff you went through.
I don't know if I did. You know what? I'll share with you. And then this is my first time even sharing it on the podcast, and I have wanted to share it. I was doing 3 Bible studies a week, working 40 hours a week plus, and
plus service with his trade, right? Like, so there were friends or there were ministries that'd be like, hey, like, can you help us out with your air conditioning skills? So he was doing his 40-hour plus for his money, then doing his extra for help, and then starting this church and getting married all at the same time and getting a house, like
right in the middle.
We're hiring it nonstop if you want to join, bro.
Something else.
And I bring that up to say I was doing too much, bro. Yeah. And that was the time that you and I were getting together to look at houses, going back and forth. Yeah. And I came to a point where one day I got sick on like a Sunday. I took Monday off. I went back to work on Tuesday. I worked like a 12-hour shift, and I had like just this conversation with this person that I got it in my head that they had the wrong idea of who I was as a person. And I was taking a shower out at home, and it was just in my head, and all of a sudden I just felt like I was like leaving my body a little bit, and I was like, what's going on? Like, and I could feel my heart beating really fast. Mind you, I've never had an anxiety attack in my life. I'm a pretty easygoing guy. I'm not super emotional. So I'm like kind of robotic when it comes to emotions. And all of a sudden I just feel like this sense of stress, like immense stress. And Lisette was getting ready to go to work. She was working the night shift, the graveyard shift. And in my head I was just like, I don't want her to have to worry about me right now before she goes to work. So let me just try to be cool right now, send her on her way. I'll try to go to sleep. But she could tell like something was up. She's like, hey, are you okay? And I was just like feeling like, I felt like I was on one, bro. I was like, dude, like what's going on right now? Like I just knew I wasn't myself. And that was like the big thing.
He was having straight meltdown, bro. Like for reals.
Yeah, like, and I started just really, I could describe it as just my mind was racing 100 miles per hour, overthinking every single word that would come into my reality, just hyper-focusing on everything. Wow. And I started that night. So then she left. She was like, okay, like, I wasn't also, too, while she was there, I wasn't, like, to a point where she felt like, I need to stay with my husband, because I wasn't that bad, and I was trying to play it cool.
And you're a robot.
Yeah. And so I send her on her way, or she goes to work, and then I'm there at my in-laws' house at the time, trying to like get some rest. I try to sleep. I couldn't sleep. I wake up. I'm like, I'm trying to pray, but it's hard to even pray. And then this is where I started to really lose it. I'm like, okay, let me read. I go to read the Bible, and I can't understand it. Like, as I'm reading the words, it's like I'm not able to contain the information at all in my mind. Like,
he's got like a Bible study coming up shortly too. Like,
right, yeah. So actually, the next day was Wednesday night. So Tuesday night, I'm like, okay, like this is different. Like I can't focus on the words that I'm trying to understand here. Like, and I also felt just this. Hindsight, I'm thinking was like just this immense amount of adrenaline running through my body that was keeping me up. I couldn't sleep. I just felt like I was coming down, and this is from a past of knowing what it was to be like on high psychedelics and methamphetamines, things like that. I kind of felt like I was coming off of something, but I wasn't. But I felt like that.
Right.
And condemnation was setting in, and then the next morning, I called Mike and I was like, yo, dude, like, I am tripping out right now, bro. And I described to him what I was going through. And as I'm describing it to him too, I started to feel like it would kind of intensify. And I was like, hey, like, I'm okay right now in the morning, but just, be ready if I can't teach today.
Does that ever happen to you still? Like, when you talk about it, it'll slightly... or nah?
You know what? Not really when I talk about it. It has happened to me, not even extremely, where I just started to kind of like feel it like and it's just like I was just driving one day and I started to kind of just feel it, and I'm just like, okay, it's just like, Lord, just, and I start breathing, like doing some breathing exercises, and then I'm like, and then it went away. But it hasn't been like that. And then so that day I hit up Mikey, I let him know, and then I was still getting ready to teach that night because I felt like, okay, I think I could still try to teach, and I'm putting this study together. And then around like 5 o'clock, we start service at 7. I just was like, I started to feel it, like, because I think too, because of the stress of like, dude, I'm about to go up to the pulpit,
right?
Like, and I turn to Mike, and I'm just like, I think you should take this one, bro. And so he taught that night, and it was great. Like I really felt ministered to, and I was able to kind of like pick up still, but he saw me struggling to cut a cinnamon roll, bro. Then I, like,
no, for reals though, like so that's the thing.
I had like 2 forks and a knife, and I couldn't figure out what.
That's the thing, bro.
Wow.
There was genuinely something happening though, to such a degree that it was affecting his motor skills. Like this wasn't just like, oh, like I feel anxious. It wasn't like that, bro. Like I was literally worried about him because I was looking at him and I was like, dude, like his mind was fried, bro. Like he was struggling with like basic stuff. And I hope you don't mind me.
No,
you know?
please,
yeah.
please.
So there was things like that. Like I was standing across from him, and I remember seeing him, like it was like he had to try to figure out if the fork is for the cutting or if the knife is for he was just like, he was like lost with it.
Wow.
And I remember looking at him, and I remember just like in that moment I remember praying, dude. I remember I was like, you know what, Lord, like this is, oddly enough, this is nothing new because I came from Golden Springs, right? And like I remember years back too, also I sat at a men's conference and David Rosales got up and he was speaking at this conference, and he got stuck on repeat. Like he repeated like the same paragraph like 8 times. Oh, wow. And people eventually, somebody started coming on the stage or whatever, and he like they had to just end him and pray, and it was I was like, dude, what happened? And I thought he lost his mind, and then come to find later he was back like teaching, he was solid. And I remember the first time Raul had like a seizure, you know, it was like, what's gonna happen? And you know, he learned to work through those things. And so this was nothing too, plus I had a meltdown when I was about a 5th-year apprentice in construction. I actually called Minor about it and had a long conversation because I was with him back in the day when he had like a meltdown really bad, dude. And I drove him, I'll never forget, dude. I had to drive his car for him. And so God had taught me a little bit about this stuff. My wife deals with anxiety, but this was different than just anxiety, like anxiousness. This was like a full-blown like episode, really. And so you could imagine where that took him with the calling, even like, what's going on, dude? And I had all these things in my head of like, dude, I'm not here to teach, like I'm just here to help. Like I was coming out of a season in my life where I felt a bit aimless myself. Like there was nothing that had happened in my life other than circumstances had felt like it removed me from what I once was. And what I once was came with a lot of talk to me about what God's gonna do in my life and what God's calling me to do, and you know, about my calling. And there was a lot of that on me. So when I felt like I was losing some of that stuff, I remember feeling like I was failing God in some way. And so I was in this weird place. But God really did something through that in my life too, because when you're trying to teach because you want to use your gift, that's a want. And I'm not saying it's a bad want, but it's coming from you. But when you're lifting up somebody else, right, because of your care for them, it's completely different, dude. Like all of a sudden it didn't matter like if somebody felt like, oh, well, have you prayed about tea? I knew I needed to step in that moment. I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt I needed to do that. And God was very clear to me as I put that study together too, which was very seamlessly, more than normally, the way I was able to put a study together, and for God's voice to be so clear in me as to what I am doing in this moment and what I'm not doing in this moment. So there was no element of like getting it twisted with what I was doing and what God wanted me to do and why I was teaching there, and what my purpose was and who the pastor is here and all of those things. God was very clear with me. And so I knew that it would just be a road of and I didn't know how long it would last. A road of encouragement and assistance.
It also too just, and this is us being a little transparent with what this ministry has been turning into at Redeemed Church Fellowship. It kind of really solidified Mikey's like role here in a sense, because he just came on maybe in like February, I think, as like officially like, okay, this is my home church.
Attending officially.
Yeah. And then there was just, you know, like I specifically told him, hey, you know, I think it's good. Like, we're going to try to let you just sit, you know? And he was like, for sure, 100%. And he had been here for a few months, and then all of a sudden it just felt like, okay, bro, like, you're not sitting tonight. Like, I need, like, like, please don't sit tonight.
Yeah.
And so that the Lord kind of started to just really over time just been giving us the same mind, and it's been really cool to do that. And to kind of share, I kind of want to share on what I was struggling with when it came to that day. So the next day he taught that night, and then on Thursday I was at work. So this kind of, I'll call it an episode. I feel like it was a chemical imbalance in my mind. It didn't really reset for like a good 4 days. Like, I think on day 5 I started to feel like myself again, and day 6 I was okay. But so from like Tuesday night to about Friday, I really felt like it was taking some time for this to wear off. And on Thursday, after he taught, I was still really anxious and still kind of wondering, okay, I was scared that it wasn't going to stop. I was scared that I might have done something just by overworking, that my brain was now permanently going to be in this state, and then have like episode after episode that would kind of heighten the sensation. Wow. And so I got on my knees at work, and I remember I was like, Lord, I know that if you want me to take a step back from the pulpit, I'll still follow you. And that was for the first time I could see it. Like, because I say that in my heart before. I've said that in my heart before, like, Lord, this is your church, this is your ministry, you don't do what you want with it. But now I saw the reality of, oh, okay, like, maybe the Lord is calling me out, you know? And not that he's calling me to something of less status, but maybe he's just calling me to something different. And I really had to put it on the altar. And that same few days, all of a sudden, Pastor Wade hit me up randomly asking me for if I could help out with Israel. But then I start sharing with him, like, bro, like, I'm going through it right now. And then he just encourages me.
Wade's great.
Yeah, dude, just
Wade, for sure.
Some of the words that I felt like the Lord just like gave him, I was like, whoa, like, okay, like specific things for me in that moment. And then someone wants to bless the ministry. They call me. I haven't talked to this guy in forever. And he's like, hey, God's really put you and your ministry on my heart. Has no idea what I'm going through. And I've been blessed financially. He's like, and I'm trying to figure out what to do with like this little gift that God's given me. And you just keep coming up. This is all within the same like 2 days that I'm thinking I need to stop pastoring.
Wow.
And I'm just like, okay, Lord, like, and then sure enough, like, started to reset. And a few things that I took away was, number one, honor the Sabbath. For sure. Like that 10 commandment. I like it. That it's so important to make sure that you're
Time
getting
off.
your rest with the Lord, you know. Secondly, being open with people, being open when they're going through struggles, because when I was going through struggles, I saw like, man, people came alongside and helped. I didn't even, man, I was just so blessed. And lastly, I'll say that it helped me to be more compassionate with people who have just something going wrong in the brain, in their mind, their mental state, whether they view the world a different way or whether they struggle with anxiety. I used to tell my wife, because she went during nursing school, was struggling with anxiety, and she had one anxiety attack that was kind of bad. And I remember I used to just tell her, hey, like, you just got to do breathing exercises. Like what?
It's all in your head. Yeah, she's like, I know that's the problem.
So I had a very small sense of empathy, I think, and so the Lord showed me like, hey, like this is a real deal.
Yeah.
So kind of crazy, and all of that to say that, man, what God is doing, and I know He's going to continue. He uses these trials in our life, and
yeah, you know, one of the things that I think brought that out is, you know, so there's the things you're prepared for, right? Like you go in, you have pastor friends, you go into marriage, you go into parenthood. Maybe you've, you know, sat and heard Steve West talk about parenting or children's ministry. People saying, hey, it's what's important, what's not. But the one thing, as you walk with the Lord into marriage and into fatherhood, there's nothing that can prepare you for what God has to do with you and deal with you in that. You know, that's why I'm not even big on like, the 5 whatever steps in marriage, or, you know, because it's like I knew everything, bro. Textbook. I counseled people. Like, there was nothing that could save us when we were going through it. Except being on our knees and saying to God, we know, not saying we know we need to do this, we know we need to do that, saying we don't know what to do. We don't know what to do, God. Like, we need your help, you know, like because my wife and I never went to vices, bro. Like, our marriage, like, we stayed the course, but boy, did we go through it, dude. Like, go through things, you know. And that's the likeness, too. When I see my brothers, we have a really good relationship with a guy named Angel, who's the pastor at a small Calvary in City Terrace, right?
Yeah, I know Angel.
You know Angel.
Yeah.
So he's a
cool guy.
he's a really good friend of ours, bro. Like, that's part of our fellowship. Like, he's our brother.
Love, huh?
Yeah, big time, bro.
I love that guy, dude. He gives you a hug and like he means it.
Oh,
you know, some
sure.
people just give you a hug. Hey, what's up, bro? Nah, this guy, like, I love you, bro. You know?
Shout out Angel, dude.
Yeah,
we love
Angel's,
you, bro.
Angel's
yeah,
a great guy, bro.
So, and he's a big part of our ministry here, believe it or not, dude. In association, we do stuff together with them. They do stuff with us, and he's become a really tight brother. On Sunday, Angel and his wife were over at Sal's house, and you know, there's that fellowship there and very transparent conversations and stuff. One of the things witnessing in our relationship with Angel is, you know, to watch him be refined through the fire, you know, and how this is a godly man, dude, who hangs on to the Lord and has nothing to hide, bro, but the refiner's fire, dude, like taking him through it, the trials. And you know, we have another good friend of ours, Caesar, and just the transparency he's had and the things that he's got to deal with. And you know, I just want to touch a bit, you know, Adam, on I know inevitably that your life hasn't been easy, right? Your marriage hasn't been just easy, and being a dad like so quickly, you're a dad of 2, and you know, you're a real estate guy, and so you know, the hustle is a big part of your job title. You belong to Nonstop, right? And that's the hustle is like, right? That's, I mean, that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing, you know. And I know that. I know Minor runs at a fast pace. Like, everything is very, like, we stay on it. We don't stop. You know? Nonstop, right? So so can you talk a little bit about, you know, some of the difficulties that you faced in being a husband, a worker? You balancing your life is not easy. You're a father of 2 quickly, right? You're a man who understands what you want on the big picture as far as homes and stuff like that, and what you don't have, right? You're a man who's had to probably learn to say no to certain ministries, and then deal with the fast pace of high business. It's not just like, I have a chill job or I freaking, you know.
Right. Can
you talk a little bit about some of the things that you go through like that?
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? It's just crazy that you bring up that question, because I wanted to touch base on what you were talking about too, about you know, it's okay. Someone just told me this too. It's okay to let people know that you're not okay. You know, and I've been going through a season just as you're describing, bro. It's crazy how, like, now the Lord is clicking in my mind, like, see, that's why you went through that. Look, now, you know, God's opened up the door to share here, but it's been an intense season, bro. You know how, like, I began the podcast by sharing to know the state of your flock. You know, ministry, business was going, ministry is going. Hey, can you serve here? Can you teach here? Yeah, no problem. Yeah. Hey, babe, I'm gonna go serve. I'm gonna go do this. And then she's like, dude, well, what the heck? Like, I'm here with the 2 boys. Like, you need to figure it out, you know? And so then the Lord is really showing me like, hey, look, you really need to know the state of your flock. You need to know the state of your household, you know, because if your house isn't right, how are you going to go about and teach of a godly house, right? How are you going to go about and teach and minister if this is an issue here, right? And it took a lot of learning, you know, and I'm still learning. I think I'll never stop, but the Lord is really just showing me like, you guys need to, obviously communication is key. So, you know, me and my wife, not every day you jump out of bed like, all right, we're married. Yeah, this is the best. It's like, dude, it's
Not
like.
for me, at least.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me, sometimes it's like that. Sometimes it's like, dude, how are we going to get through this day, you know? But the Lord is faithful through it all, you know? And it's been tough, bro. Like having, you know, I've been working a lot, and she, you know, now she's staying home with the boys. That's her heart, to raise the boys or put them in some kind of a Christian school where she's able to be there with them. And like, we're figuring those things out. But she really wants to be the one like teaching her children, ministering to her children. And I have no issues with that. I'm on the same page, you know? And, but when it came to things like, man, maybe I should scale back from serving in this area in ministry so I can really focus on the home and be there with my wife and helping her with the babies, because it's not easy. You know, it's not easy, you know, bro. Like these kiddos, man, they take so much out of you.
I mean, I just have one, bro. And I know it's a lot.
Yeah,
know?
dude, because you go and you're spending, you know, you go to work and then you come home, the kids are there, some are crying, the other one's not, and she's just like, dude, I need help. And you be there for her, you know, and you help her, and when you're there and you're home. But sometimes it's like, well, do you have to go to work today? Like, I need you here. And I'm like, well, if I don't go to work, we're not gonna make it. We're not gonna even live here. We're gonna be in a cardboard box by the 210, you know.
You know, it's so crazy, Adam. You know, my wife's an introvert, bro, and I'm a social, like, I do all right, you know, like with people, happy to see you, small talk, like I can wear a smile, you know, I could like, hey, it's good, you know. But it's so crazy, the dynamic of marriage, you know, and then God had to teach me a great deal about the difference between leading and dragging people. He hears me say that a lot, you know, but in the name of leading my family, I was dragging them. And you think in your mind of that illustration, the difference between a person who is being led versus a person who's being dragged. You know, dragging is a form of torture in the West, you know, the old Western days, you know, or the Roman days even, you know. So, you know, in the name of leading, you sometimes look back at what God gave to you and you recognize you're dragging them, you know. And with my wife being an introvert and being a godly woman who's not just coming at me all crazy and just giving me attitude, I could feel her. I would come home, I'd see the disappointment, just feel the disappointment, feel the depression on her for holding a baby and like cooking and like looking at me, hey, like not happy to see me, bro. And and I wish I could say like, oh, and I saw it and I try to fix, right? Because that's my way. Like, I'm a fixer. Like, oh, like, hey, what do you need? And but that's not the way it works. Like, I couldn't fix this, dude. And it increased. And one of my flaws, my tendencies that God's really, you know, refined a lot out of my life, but still to this day, he's working on it and teaching me it, is I always head into the story with a lesson. In other words, like, I'm starting to get tough and I'll be like, you know what, God's doing this because he's going to do this, he's going to do that, right? And I started heading into the story with a lesson in my mind. But let me tell you something, dude. Like, you don't get the lesson walking into a story. And so many times we end up making a bigger mess of stuff when we start speaking ahead of ourselves, telling, oh, God's going to do that, you're going to see, you know. And in reality, I just need to stop. I need to stop. Like, stop trying to, oh, and God's going to do that, I'm going to fix it. Like, and stop, bro, and just love my wife, dude. And not even always with the compliments. Oh, you look beautiful today. Oh, I like that dress on you. That stuff's important too, bro. But this has been a thing that God's really shown me is, you know, allow your wife to be on your mind, bro. On your mind, because the Bible says that, you know, like, you look at the character of Christ, dude, when he looked at the children of Israel and he longed for them and he saw the state of they were on his mind. It wasn't just prayer. It was that they meant a lot to him. And when you're growing in the Lord and you're falling in love with the Lord, one of the things that you come to realize is that how much the Lord, you're the apple of his eye, right? And how much it's easy to drift away from that in our marriages, that you stop and you realize that the days of the week, the hours of the day, they're spent on what you need to do and what I need to accomplish and what my wife needs me to do and what my kids need. But rarely, you know, I found myself, I don't like projecting onto people, but rarely I found myself as I was driving just thinking about my wife and her smile or her face or the way she makes me laugh, or that was all dried up. You know, like my responsibilities, and the Lord started really speaking to me about this stuff. And because everything I tried to do to fix wasn't working, and so little by little, it wasn't me trying to fix, it was me making adjustments and not saying, see, I'm adjusting, let's try this, not even saying that stuff, just making the adjustment, not even saying anything to her about it, just making the adjustment, like knowing in my heart that on this day, today, throughout the day, I'm going to be thinking about my wife. Not like I'm going to set aside the time to pray, just literally letting my wife be on my mind, thinking about her, dude, loving her. And one of the things I recently have shared with him and with Angel is, you know, pay attention, dude. Pay attention to your wife. Like if you notice that when she wears that t-shirt of yours or something, you like the way she looks, or man, she looks really pretty when she has her hair like that, or I like the way it looks when she has her hair, you know, down or wet or whatever, up, whatever. And you notice it, not just, oh, you look pretty like that, but pay attention. Like, don't you realize that a wife can sense that she's wanted? That's the way Satan uses, you know, infidelity, because a person feels wanted, feels desirable, right? A husband, he's calculating these, oh, you look pretty today, oh, I like that dress on you. He's calculating all this stuff, but rarely is he seeing her? Is he, you know, is he looking, noticing? And even if he doesn't say anything, your wife turns on and catches that you're looking at her and you have a smile on your face, you know, and you don't say nothing about it. And that feeds, because people, women particularly, need to be wanted, you know, and that's how Satan comes and tries to sneak in, as well as men who need to be respected, right? Like, and but that's not for us to talk about, because that's their handbook. Like, our handbook is what we need to be, right? And God had to teach me this stuff, bro. I couldn't learn this somewhere. I couldn't, like, people were like, are you praying together? I knew those things, dude. Like, oh, let's pray together, let's read together, let compliment your wife, you know, send her a message, oh, hey, I love you. Or, I was trying, bro, but it was all like manufactured, and she wasn't buying it, you know, like she was sinking, you know. And coming to a place, bro, where God had to remove me, you know, from the rapid race of a lot of things I was trying to do. And I came here, simple little church, bro. This is a little church, bro. Like, you know, came here and just sitting. And my wife wasn't even coming to church here when I first started coming, dude. You know, she didn't, after COVID and all the things, she was just like, the baby wasn't used to it. We weren't used to putting her in. And she grew up, you know, she turned 3. COVID was still around, you know, like she was just, so my wife had all the excuses in her mind of like, well, like, no, you know what, I don't want to go, or, you know. And so I was coming by myself. And I was feeling like, Lord, I failed somewhere. But the one thing that was in my heart is that I'm never going to give up on my wife. I love my wife, and I love the Lord. And if I will not even defend if somebody were to say, oh, well, that's disqualified. Well, look, I accept that. Maybe I am disqualified then. I was no longer running from, oh, no, don't tell me that I'm not, you know, just don't say I'm not. I gave that up. I gave that up, and I just said, Lord, I still love you with all my heart, and I'm praying for my wife. And dude, it was so crazy, bro. Like, here, you know, I'll never forget, dude. Like, I never was like, hey, do you want to go? Hey, do you want to go? I let her, dude. And one day she was like, hey, she was like, what time do you guys go? What time is, you know, Wednesday night? I just told her. And then she just came, you know, she just came. And then we talked. I said, hey, like, I didn't try to capitalize on it. I was like, hey, it was cool. I enjoyed that, you know, or whatever. She didn't come the next week. And then she asked, like, hey, do they have, you know, or how do you feel about coming when you get out of work and we'll ride together? Like, bro, like, I could have cried, bro, because like, there was nothing I could do to figure out what needed to change. if God would have told me to change something, I would have changed it, bro. I would have, like, let's do it. Like, give me the recipe. I'm down. It doesn't matter if it's run 10 miles every morning. Like, let's go. Like, if that's what it is, let's do it. There was nothing, bro. There was, it turns out that what was needed, Adam, what was needed is the heart of that tax collector who went before the Lord when the Pharisee went before the Lord, and the Pharisee said, I thank you that I'm not like him, you know, and then he said, I'm nothing. Like, I'm nobody. I just need your mercy. Like, I had to get taken to that place, not like, oh, my answer's what I know, or read the book. I know, I'll talk to Dave, like, he'll fix it. Well, you know, there was nothing, dude. There was nothing I could do to make things right. So I share this with you, bro. Hopefully, I'm sorry, guys. Like, sometimes I take the conversation on in my own life or whatever, but I share this with you because, like, I want to be transparent about my marriage, where I'm at, like what God's teaching me and what God's restored unto me, and because I feel like one of the other attacks that Satan has in people's lives is they feel like they're the only one. Like, they feel like, dude, am I doing something wrong here? Like, I know better. Like, I'm God's man. Like, my wife loves the Lord. Like, what's going on here, dude? Like, and we start again heading in with the conclusions. Like, oh, you know, I know what it is. He's trying to, you know, but we don't. And God doesn't want that Pharisaic heart, dude. He wants that guy who says, I don't know what to do, Lord. And I need your help. Like, I need your help. Like, this wasn't the plan. We were supposed to be in the house. Like, we were supposed to be, you know what I mean? Like, it was supposed to be good. I was supposed to, you know, maybe I'll start a church by this time and you'll be there, you know, and you'll help out with children because you have the experience with, you know, handicapped kids. And my wife had that heart, and I'm telling everybody this story, bro. And it's not the story, dude. You know, the story's like, man, I don't know, Lord. I don't know what to do. Like, I love you, though, and I need your help. And God brought friends along the way, dude. Like, you know, he orchestrated things so that I didn't go insane. Like, you know, my relationship with my nephew, who's doing sound right now, like, that saved me I didn't have to leave my wife to go do something that made me at least feel sane. We would go to her family's house. We would hang out with her family, and there was this young kid I'd known since he was 9 years old, and I'm just hanging out with him, and he's growing into this young man. He's like, hey, like, check out this music. And I'm there at her family's house with her family, spending time, all of us together, and we're getting to make music together. And so there's things that God did along the way in sustaining my relationship with Sal, the fellowship there, the relationship built with Angel, this podcast, the conversations, long conversations, which you need sometimes. You could, bro, you know what it's like, the routines of ministry. Like, we come in, we say good morning, we go here, then we go there, then we do this, and we sit, then we listen. But sometimes you need the long conversation to start to get transparent about, yeah, dude, to be real with you, pray for us for this, you know, or for that, you know. And I just want you to know, Adam, like, this is not like this, like, that's why I love podcasts. I don't care if we find out this wasn't getting recorded and the sound isn't in or whatever. It's kind of a bummer. It's actually happened to us before. But I don't care about that, because to me the conversation is more important than the recording and production of a podcast. Like, I want you to know, bro, like, if the enemy ever attacks you in those ways, like, we're in the same boat, dude. Like, him too, dude. Like, Angel the other day was so relieved to find out that Sal and, you know, they argue or they fight because they go through that, and he's like, dude, am I doing something wrong, you know? And, you know, a big part of what we do at this table in this conversation is just be transparent and real, you know, about what we're learning, what God's teaching us, you know. So I'm excited about this time in your life where it isn't an abundance of like, oh, well, recently I took over this and I took over that. Like, hey, that's cool. I'm excited about that kind of stuff and hearing that stuff from people. But I'm actually more excited about the character of a man being built by the hand of God in the circumstance that God brought him to, you know, and the trials and the fire of refinement, you know.
And go ahead.
No, just to segue back into, and you could share what you want to say, but because you mentioned knowing the state of your flock, and the last time I spoke with you, I remember asking you, are you involved in like a particular ministry? Is there a ministry that you are involved with? And you were praying about getting involved in the children's ministry. So kind of I'm just curious, like, are you involved particularly in one ministry, and what exactly is it when you're saying to us to know the state of your flock? Like, what's God showing you like that's on your heart right now?
Yeah, well, right now God is showing me, like he mentioned it too, like it's building that character. You know, the state of the flock would be my household, right? And
I
then,
caught that.
Yeah, ministry wise, I still serve in ministry right now. I'm serving on the phones at the front desk, you know, answering the phones, you know, on behalf of the church and getting prayer requests and just giving information, whatever have you. And it's cool, you know, I'm enjoying it. It's something I actually enjoy. You know, it's chill. You get to see people walk back and forth, answer phone calls. And so I'm doing that. I was serving in the junior high ministry, as you mentioned before. And then my wife and I ended up stepping down from that because during that time we're transitioning back into having all the classrooms open. So during that time, all classrooms weren't open. And so we're bringing our 1-year-old up there to the junior high, and we felt like we couldn't minister to the kids as well because we're taking care of our little one. And then
it was a season that passed. You just realized it.
And then so we were actually doing a discipleship. We finished the discipleship, and that's when we let the overseer know, hey, you know what, we're going to take a step back, and
that's beautiful.
You know, we're going to see what the Lord is going to do, and that's when they needed help in the children's ministry. So maybe then we're thinking maybe the Lord is calling us to go into the children's ministry, and that's what I was sharing with you. I think we might serve there. But then, you know what? I didn't want to like just hop in and out. And I told Steve, I'm like, look, if I go in here, I'm going to be here for a while. I don't want to just hop in and out, And of course, if you need me, let me know. I'll jump in. But I don't want to be like,
because your family there, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So then I let you know the overseer know there too, and the Lord didn't really have it. He didn't really put that burning in my heart. This is where I need you to be, right? I felt like it was just me on my own wanting to fulfill a need I saw, right, rather than a calling to draw into the ministry. So I was just being patient. I was waiting, and that very same day, actually, when I decided to step down from junior high, then Pastor Jesse walks up to me. He's like, hey, you know, Adam, are you busy right now? It was a Wednesday night, and I was like, no. He's like, oh, can you go up there and pray for people, you know, after the service?
Nice.
You know? So then I started doing that. I know. I was like, okay, Lord, like one door closed and another door open. And I was like, okay.
That's not something, just so if people listening, that's not something, there's people to describe it to you. Calvary Chapel, Golden Springs, at the end of service, they have pastors at the front of if anyone needs to pray, you can go up to pray, and that's not something that you can just volunteer yourself, like, hey, I want to go up there and pray.
People,
I mean, to a point, you know.
And it was a reassuring of my calling, you know, and I was just like, man, Lord, like, and I was the only person who was an ordained pastor that was standing up there at the time, and I was like, man, Lord, like, this is kind of this is a blessing, like, wow. So then I'm there. I got to, you know, do that, and I'm still serving on the phones, and then right now, serving in Bible college as well, doing teaching there. And then I was supposed to take on, this is why I'm sharing this story. I was supposed to take on a full semester, this semester actually, at the Bible college. And, you know, just really preparing. I was going to teach, and then my household needed work, though. You know, I didn't feel right for me just leaving, because as you know, it's just not the 2-hour class that you're teaching, but it's all those hours that get prepared for the study.
Absolutely.
Right?
And the conviction if you don't, like,
exactly. So then there's moments in time where I have these different like speaking opportunities and teaching opportunities. I went, just to sidetrack, I once taught at the junior high retreat or the conference, and I was like, babe, I need you to be gone all day, you know, I need to focus and prepare this study, you know. She's okay. She held it down. She went to her mom's, they hung out, you know. But I'm like, how can I ask her to do this every week? This is gonna be tough, you know. And it's like, we need that time to really just sit at the Lord's feet, and I need to be fully ingrained in his word, you know, typing my notes and just researching, reading, studying. And I, you know, when I'm doing those things and I have my son coming up, my other son like crawling on my feet, and then my wife like talking to me and like, oh, hey, did you see this? Did you see that? I'm like, babe, I can't. Our house is so small, so it's not like I can be in an office space, you know, it's just open. So, and at the time too, like how you said, like you guys have arguments, right? Like I never have an argument with my wife. No, I'm just kidding. No,
I was kind of like,
no, just got it like that, bro.
No, just kidding. Obviously, right? Nobody's perfect. No marriage is perfect. And if you never argue with the wife, are you even married? You know what I mean? So, yeah. So then the argument started to flare up, you know, more often than not, and it's usually revolving around the kids, you know, and it's revolving around like
her being in this alone.
Her being in this alone, even though like we both are really just making it work, parenting one another, and lack of sleep on both ends. But you know, you really you honor her, your wife, as a weaker vessel and stuff. Like, you, not that secondary is her or anything by any means, but you want to be more sensitive to her needs, because maybe you can take these things, and like how you said about you're dragging them to go do these things with, as you guys know, like with the career, the nonstop, going into that, like I'm moving at a fast pace all the time. So I'm like, I'm always go. And then when I got married, I'm like, this is the pace we're running at. Let's go. Like, keep up, you know?
And I'm calling him meanwhile, yo, what's up with my house, bro?
Like, are we still in escrow, bro? What's going on? The inspection's already done, bro. When do we close? No, but so then, like, and then at the time too, like, the Lord is showing me, look, like, yeah, you may be going here, but she's not, and you need to respect that and be sensitive and extend that grace to her too. And then you guys need to work together so you guys run at a pace that is on par, right? Sure. So that's what the Lord was showing me. And that's what I mean by knowing the state of your flock. So me having to, like, I'm already on the bulletin board, like letting people know, hey, look, I'm teaching this semester. Like, I'm on the pamphlet, the brochure. I'm going to sign up for the class. My name's there. The class is there. And I have to call Dave, you know, and the Bible college staff. Hey, look, there's no way I can teach. Yeah. I got to back out. Like, I'm sorry. That's tough. And it was humiliating, you know, like what kind of person does that? Like, you know, like if you said you're going to do it, you go do it. Right. And I was like, look, Dave, this is where we're at. Like, where there's arguments flaring up and this, and got into details, right? And he get some godly counsel. And then I got to share with, you know, Minor. Minor knows my entire life. You know, he's a spiritual father to me, and many titles to him, you know. But yeah, so, and he was counseling me. And then I talked to Dave, and I'm like, look, I got to talk to you, Dave. And this is what's going on. And I just do not feel right for me to go leave my household and leave my wife. Not necessarily I'm leaving, but spending my mind and my efforts into teaching while this is like needs work, you know. I think it'll be better for myself and my marriage if I just, take a step back and then focus on my marriage and allow us to just grow in that, you know.
I respect that. You know, there's something there's an illustration that I saw earlier and something you were saying that I really want to share with you. So you talked about this difficult decision to step away from the junior high, right? In that moment, you said the same day you came down and Pastor Jesse was like, hey, can you go up and pray? And one of the things that I think, whether it's from our own minds or in the weakness of us naturally, or whether it's the enemy attacking us, I don't know, but I know that one of the things that often happens is when the Lord is orchestrating our life, it's always towards, not away, not backwards, right? And when you go and you say, I'm going to stop doing something, your nature tells you you're removed, right? And the Lord has to teach us that a time of silence is the louder voice of God sometimes than the time of noise. So you're getting more in less, not less in less, right? And so here you have this illustration that God gives to you. You step away from junior high, and where it feels like you're leaving what you once were, the Lord is reminding you that the call is never removed. The call of God's irrevocable. When you transition from pastoring being what you're doing to pastoring being who you are, you can never be removed because you can never stop being who he made you to be. And I just want to encourage you against the thoughts of that can come from your own flesh or be brought upon you by the enemy, or specifically sometimes brought upon by immature Christians, that in the season of the quietness with the voice of God, you are not being removed, right? You are being progressed. It just doesn't feel like that when you're sitting there thinking about what you thought you were supposed to be, or you thought you were going to be. But when God takes a man's life, he has to cut away everything that the man built himself so that he may continue to build the one thing amidst all that he was building all along. And I've learned that the hard way, bro, because I let go slowly. like somebody has to be mean to me and be like, no, you're done. Because I never give up on people. I never give up on things I said I was going to do. It's in my nature, you know, to be like, I don't quit. I'll keep going. Like, whatever. If it costs me, it costs me. Like, if you're done with me, you know, you're done with me. I'm not done with you. Like, not my wife, you know. Like, if you're done, that's your decision. I'm not done. But I'm doing what I'm doing, whatever it costs me. And the Lord's like, I see your heart, son. I made you this way, but I will remove you. I will remove you to bring you to the place where you need to hear my voice. This is not falling backwards. This is shifting to the next chapter. You know, because a loyal dog never leaves his owner's side. You know, and take joy in this season of the phones, because you're still in the family. Like, there's a beautiful thing when your pastor walks by in front of you, you say good morning to him, and he sees your face. Oh, good morning. Hey, what's up? You know, and you're in the family, bro. You're in the family there, and you know your relationship with Jesse before he passed away is the relationship that you have with your family. He's like an uncle or whatever. You know, hey, can you do? Of course, you know. Or hey, we're low on somebody today, man. You think you could come and just help out? Of course, you know, your family. But if you don't learn the lesson that to be still is Christ-like too, then sometimes you even got to be removed a little bit from the family, because you're stubborn, you're stiff-necked, you know, and you don't realize that to applaud what God is doing in other people's lives is godliness too. You know, so often we're such a selfish culture that the only voice of God is what God's doing through me. That's the only time. That's the only time that God's really doing something. And God's had to teach me to come, dude, and to sit under what used to be one of my former students, and to sit, and not just sit like an old wizard, to sit like a student who needs to learn, right? And to observe and to celebrate what God's doing, because we're obsessed with what God's doing through me only. But to celebrate what God's doing in a man's life, what God's doing in people's hearts, what God's doing in my marriage, what God's doing in my wife, what God's doing in refining me, humbling me, teaching me what I'm not, you know, not instead of me focusing on using what I am, you know. And so I encourage you in this time, bro, like, you know, don't, like, there's always going to be immature Christians like, hey, what's going on, dude? You used to do this, you used to do that. What are you doing, dude? Like, bro, like, let me tell you something, dude. Jesus would separate himself so that he can go and sit, bro. That's Jesus, bro. Like, the man is refined because he's in the potter's hands, not because of what he's doing. Like, you just maintain being in the potter's hands. You never let your love for Jesus slip away. You never let, you know, your adoration for your wife and for the things that God gave you slip away. When those things are slipping away, that's where you're messing up. But it don't matter if 100 people are like, hey, dude, I don't know. I always saw like you were going to take that over, bro, or you were going to go and do that. You know, that's kind of what I saw for you, you know. And right now, just, hey, just let you know, bro, I'm praying for you, you know, I'm soon enough, you know, or whatever. And it's like, no, dude, don't see this season as like some sort of failure, miss. You know, the saddest thing that could have happened is whatever God's teaching you right now, molding you with your wife, if she would have just been too tough. That would have been sadder, bro. It'd have been a sadder story if she was too tough. She didn't tell you. She didn't say how she felt. She didn't talk about what she was going through, and she stuck it through. And all of a sudden, what? Adam doesn't learn what he's learning right now. She doesn't get wounds bound up, dude, and fixed. And she doesn't have those things fixed. So what happens now? You got a congregation in front of you, and she's carrying things you don't even know. Why? Because she's smiling in your face saying, oh, good job, you know, and sucking it all up. It's better in this season, bro. It's better in this season to go. Listen, you're not the senior pastor of that church. And guess what, dude? Calvary Chapel Golden Springs has a senior pastor and very loyal servants and very loyal people there and very gifted, anointed, talented, spiritual men. Praise God that you're in a season that those people are not just going without while Adam can learn what God wants him to learn, because they have God's people there, right? And that was my thing too. Like, you stand on the sidelines, that's hard, bro. If you're a sports person, to stand on the sidelines is hard, dude. But the refining is more important, dude. Yeah. To be who God made you to be, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I'm excited, bro. I'm happy for you, dude, that God's teaching you these things. And I look forward to hopefully sometime that we get to spend that time as just husbands, you know, families, like, get together. And we're just to let you know, dude, these are things we're praying about when we talk to Angel. I talk to Ivan's a very good close friend of mine, a very good close friend of this ministry as well. I pray and talk with Ivan on a weekly basis, like almost like a schedule.
Yeah, Ivan Gonzalez.
Yeah.
I love that guy.
So we are men who do have callings in our lives, but not to the point where we can't be refined and the people are going without. We're at a point where we can be refined, the people aren't going without. They have solid brothers and leaders, pastors there, and we need to be molded into what God needs us to be so that we may enter into the season ahead of us, worked on by the Lord, and we need to build that fellowship with each other where we call each other, or just say, hey, how you doing? And we're transparent about those things that you think you're going through alone. Like, there's another one. Here's another one. There's another one. There's another one. Everybody thinks they're the one that's going through it.
It's interesting you say that too, because that's how it felt. I'm like, dude, this is not right. Who else is going through this? I'm like, call Lauren, call Wade, like, talk to them. Like,
and then they're the super couple too, right? So
yeah,
you feel like,
I'm like, dude, so how do they do it? They got 3 little ones too, and it's like, and then it is reaching out. It is having that integrity and reaching out, and again, letting people know, there's a point in time where it's okay to say you're not okay.
Yeah.
Like, dude, this is where I'm at. This is what's going through my mind. Sometimes it takes that vocalizing it to get those thoughts out of your head and allow you to say it so you can hear it yourself, and there's times that's needed, and to reach out and be able to share that with them, and they could see where you're at, and it builds that, again, integrity. You're not just doing things, and it's like, I don't know, I'm very accountable to, like, those around me, and to Dave, to Minor.
That's
and,
good. That's good.
No, I was reminded last night, I got to teach in 2 Corinthians chapter 12, and it hit me hard because I felt like, and I was sharing this last night, that I felt like this message was really pinpointing issues that the Lord is, like, really putting in front of my face.
That's a portion of boasting in my infirmity, not in my
right.
I'm talking about what I'm not. Basically, Paul's talking about.
So I'll say that Paul, when he goes to the Lord and asks him 3 times to remove this thorn in the flesh from himself, God doesn't give him what he asked for. And then right before that, he talks about, if there's anything I could boast in, if I was in the flesh, if I was like these fools, I could boast about the amazing visions that God has given me. I was caught up to the 3rd heavens. I've seen so many different things, and there were so many things in Paul's life that he could have boasted about. But what he decided to boast in were the things that he was weak in. And it's like, what is that weakness in my life? What is it that you're dealing with, that I'm dealing with? And am I okay if the Lord doesn't fix it the way I want him to fix it? Am I okay with surrendering and saying, Lord, you're in control? If he wants to close the doors to this church, if he wants to take away the ability to teach a Bible study in front of people, if he wants to do those things, can I receive what he said is sufficient for me, which is his grace? And it's like, that right there was like, man. And then I had to think about what Jesus did in the Garden of Gethsemane. He saw, but Father, if there's any way, if there's any possible way that you can take this cup from me, but not my will, but your will be done. So he literally laid out the possibility, Lord, if you can take this and receive it, like, cool, but not my will, your will be done. And then he relates to us then, so with what you're sharing, I'd be like Mikey was saying, let's be encouraged. And when we find these areas that, man, I can't imagine what it's like with Dave, especially, because I have a soft spot
for sure. We all love Dave.
Yeah. We're always trying to, like, me personally, like, to be put in this place where I'm like, it's in my flesh to not disappoint man, right? To not disappoint people who have trained us. And man, to hear what you went through of like, I was on the brochure and
Yeah,
to come
dude.
to Dave and be like, I'm sorry. Like, you know what? But
Yeah.
you're not really letting him
They had to
down.
pencil in
you know?
someone else scratch your name
Yeah.
on it.
We're not teaching that class this semester.
man.
Thanks a lot. Just kidding. No, but it was humiliating and it was
Yeah.
humbling, you know. But I knew that if I had have gone through with that, then it would be a different story told. There would be something that's going on. Something would have flared up. The Bible says that sin hidden in secret be shouted from the rooftop, right? If I had not told anybody, hey, this was going on in my home and I need help, I need prayer, and I need you guys to know, you know? And had I not done that, bottled it up and go out and teach, the teaching would have went, the semester would have went, but my marriage would be failing, I feel like, you know? So I really, you know, the Lord was showing me, hey, look, know the state of your flock, know where your wife's at, you know? Are you encouraging her throughout the day? Are you guys reading, you know, all the things that we know that we should be doing, but just not because things are getting in the way, life is getting in the way and things are moving at a fast pace. And I'm finding myself like, man, like it's different seasons, especially with these kids. Like I can't just, you'd have to wake up super extra early or go to bed super late to just sit there and just read the Word of God. For me right now in this season, I'm just like, I've been starting to go to the gym now. So I wake up, go to the gym, I have my phone on and I'm reading the Proverbs. I'm reading my devotionals as I'm on the treadmill, you know, and that's my time with the Lord for that day sometimes, you know, and just doing stuff that's like practical like that and being able to, whatever the Lord showed me as I'm walking with the Lord on the treadmill, right? You know, pour into my wife, or this is what the Lord showed me, or be able to share different things, you know, and the Lord hasn't completely removed me or I've removed myself from it. The Bible college, I'm still serving in the Bible college. You know, I'm handling an online course and they really extended grace to me. You know, okay, we get that you can't be here physically on these days, but hey, are you able to take over this course that's online and then be with the students and then, you know, upload videos if you can. And so I'm doing that now, you know, and
that's cool.
It's been cool, man. And the Lord's doing a new work in my life and refining. I love the way you put that. That just confirms exactly what's going on in this season for myself. It's a time of refining,
that's
you know,
awesome.
and he's sharpening me and he's ironing out the kinks, you know. Obviously that proverb says that, you know, where it talks about how like when he sees that golden pot, right, and all the dross has fallen away and all the impurities fall off and you see the reflection it's of himself, you know. And I think that's what's going on in this season of my life. And you know, when the next semester does come up, if that's what the Lord has for me, you know, I want to be ready and I pray that I am. And you know, I think it's going to be a neat time. But as for right now, like I'm really just taking this time, this season, this opportunity to really focus on my family, you know, focus on my marriage, and then focus on what God has me doing currently, you know, in the Bible college, on the line class, and then serving on the phones and just being available for the body. You know, we have a pastors conference that's coming up. You know, I want to be able to serve there. And but you know what's interesting too, because now in this season of my life, before you can just go and do those things, but now that you're married with kids,
Absolutely.
it's like, babe, look, this is coming up. Like we need to figure out the kid situation, where they're going to be at. Are you going to be able to get some help these days? Because I'm going to be like gone these next 3 days, right? So like it's those things we're figuring out weeks in advance prior to this conference coming up. And I think nobody really talks about those things, you know, but those are practical things that do come up, especially for those leaders serving in the church or anyone serving, you know, that's married as kids. I think those things don't get any light shine upon them because my wife does hold down the fort, you know, like I'm here now, right? And I told her like, hey, Sal asked me to do a podcast. Am I able to do it? What do we got going on? And then she's like, yeah, babe, we'll do it. We'll make it happen. I'll do this, and then you can be there, right?
Well, we just want to say thank you, Steph, for lending.
Yeah,
that
shout
on
out.
no, for reals though, like because these are important conversations.
But for you guys
know?
too, right?
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, your wife's probably working. Your wife's probably home, right?
She's at home, dude.
They're holding down the fort for us,
Yeah.
you know. And if
Yeah.
we're able to do this, we're able to come together, fellowship. Not only that, but able to speak upon the Lord, and then you know this will be uploaded, and
Absolutely.
you know, God be the glory.
And the main thing too is like, you know, there are things that are said from your fellow brothers, iron sharpening iron, that refine you. You know, you hear things or you speak things of your early relationship. You're reminded, it changes. It reminds you of this love that you're to have, that God called you to towards your wife, the way you feel about her. Here was a man driving down a mountain who couldn't wait to talk to a girl. Well, that girl's there right now. She's there at the house. You know what I'm saying? And so those are things, bro. Like God uses those things. You know, when you were talking about running on the treadmill and looking at the word, you know, I was kind of reminded of this illustration that God gave me. You ever seen the movie Meet Joe Black?
I seen it once and I don't remember it.
Well, anyways, in the movie, you know, not that I recommend this movie to Christians, but it's from the, but there's this in the movie. There's this character Death that's personified, and he's hanging out with this older guy who he actually came to take, and he's still there though, but he's like with him everywhere that he goes. And this old man works at this firm where he's the main guy there, right? And everybody wants to know who this dude is that's always just there. He's just there with him, right? And most of the movie takes place in conversation between this old man who's coming to the end of his life and then Death who's here to take him, right? And I bring that up because it builds this relationship and this illustration of something there in that movie between these two characters that here you can see in a movie about a fictional character, Death, and this guy, because he's gonna go, Death is gonna take him. He's gonna leave this earth, right? And it's this illustration of where I'm headed and the person who's going to usher me there, right? And you know, I love an adjustment that God made in my life where, you know, I used to meet God in all the places that we set up to have meetings, you know, the bedside before bed, the table before eating, the morning, you know, before work, the lunch break or whatever, the devotional that I have, you know, the Wednesday night and the Sunday morning, and you know, the every other car ride where they left the radio off and I talked to him. But little by little, what started to happen was I started to have this illustration in my life of him being the stranger standing there. In every conversation I'm with people, there's my Savior. He's there. He is. He's right there. You see him? He's standing right there, and because he's listening to what I'm saying. What's my motive? Why am I saying it? You know, like, who's getting glory out of that? You know, when I'm listening to somebody, am I really listening to them? Did you hear what he said, Mike? Did you really hear what he said, or were you waiting to say what you wanted to say? You know, you notice he nudges you on the shoulder, right? Hey, check out that person across the room. They look sad. They do look sad. Should I go talk? No, don't talk to them. I just want you to know. You see that? That's what I see. I see those people. Like, you go to work, right? You notice the flirtations, the person, the things, right? You're on your drive. You're frustrated. Somebody cut you off the way you act. He's standing there. You're talking. You're dialoguing with him. On your way to the gym, before the phone goes on. Like, man, I don't feel like doing this today. Who are you talking to? Who's the personified Savior that has the ability to go with you everywhere? On my way home, when I know my wife's in a bad headspace, she's already in the bad headspace, and that triggers me, right? So I come home, I go to touch the handle of my doorknob, right, and I have to stop because there he is, the figure standing, right? And it's like, okay, look, like I'm not ready for this right now. It was hard today. Like, I need somebody to hear me out. You know, like, I don't have it in me right now. I already know what mindset she's in. But I'm having this conversation with you right now. And I need your help to do what I can't do right now. I can't. Like, in a minute, I'm going to walk through the store and I'm going to pretend I have to use the restroom so that I could go in there and sit down and not answer a billion questions because I'm not right. But I'll tell you what, Lord, I'm going to do that with you. I'm not going to go just to get on my phone. I need you. And so Christ starts to become personified as a permanent character in the story. And I believe that this is something that God's men are going to need. Like, from here on, not just like to get us through the tough time of marriage. Like, from here on, we live in a dark time. You know, I don't need to start preaching that one. We know that one, bro. Like, we live in a crazy time. Like, right is wrong, wrong is right. All the politics, everything that's going on with, you know, people and sexuality, everything, right? Like, if you really care about people, you could hear before the truth of God even leaves your mouth. You could hear the way they're gonna hear it, the way you're gonna sound right now, the way it's gonna come across what you're saying. At least me, because I care about these people. Like, I'm not just saying regurgitating what I hear, what I say, what my pastor says. Like, I literally want them to know the truth. But I could already hear it leaving my lips and the way they're going to hear it, right? Because the world's twisted, telling them backwards. We can't, bro. We can't make it. Like, we can't change this world. It's not going to happen. But we have the Savior who's available always, not just in moments, always available to go with me where, and he's that voice that sometimes where I'm like, oh, I should go to prayer. That no, don't say nothing. How many times, dude, when I'm in tune with the Lord, has the Lord told me not to speak? You know, I'm sitting there and I'm like, don't speak. And you want to tell your wife, you know what it is that your problem is, dude? Here's the issue. Every time this happens, you start going to this place in your mind. That's the issue. When you're ready to get in the teaching position and start teaching your wife, let me tell you, you're in tune with the Holy Spirit. 9 times out of 10, he tells you not to teach the lesson. You're looking at her, you see it, you spot it, and you say in your mind, if the Lord opens up a doorway and if the Lord presents a roadway to speak these things, if she comes and says, hey, you know, I've been feeling like this, and it comes up, remember it. If not, pray for her for this because you saw it. Don't start teaching. You know, just pray for her for that because God revealed it to you and you see it. And here's the thing. How eager are we for God to reveal to us what's wrong with our wives? And yet, how blind are we with God revealing things about ourselves? You know, I could tell you all the things wrong with my wife. But all I see is that Lord, I love you and I'm trying, you know, I'm doing my best. I work hard, you know, like, so anyways, I don't want to get on a tangent too far, but reeling it back in, dude, I think that I encourage and I remind myself that let's keep Christ personified to the degree that even in the in-betweens, like there he is and we're considering his ideas or how he feels about this stuff, you know?
Man, that's profound, bro. That's really profound. And I want to encourage you, Adam, with, you know, you are so relatable to so majority of the church who are not full-time ministry. They work hard and they're trying to lead their family and their struggles. And sometimes they need someone to be able to talk to them like you, who's like right where they're at, you know? And you can relate to a lot of people. And I'm in the same boat as you, just so you know, like, cause I work part-time or not part-time. I work and I do ministry. And that's more relatable right now to a majority of the church. And God uses his vessels and everyone's unique and how he uses them. But, you know, be encouraged with what God has been doing with you right now, you know?
Yeah, I think that's where it is, and it's a blessing to see like the men have gone before us, right? And how we were talking about like we are the next generation, right? And are we going to carry that baton, so to speak, to carry the gospel to that following generation, to our generation and the next, right? As these men are getting older, and has God gave them examples to us, like, you know, our pastor Raw, and seeing him, he literally worked the entire time and didn't receive a salary. He goes and shares it on the pulpit many times, right? And yet stood faithful to the call of God in his life. And then knowing that he has to work, provide for his family, and still doing full-time ministry. And seeing things like that the Lord allows me, you know, to really witness and see as an example. It's like, man, Lord, like it can be done, right? See what God is able to do with a willing vessel, right? If you're fully surrendered unto God and his plan for your life, and he's going to make it happen. And a lot of times, like how we were talking about earlier, trying to figure out God's plan, right? God's not calling us to figure it out. He's not calling us to figure out his plan. He's calling us to be faithful, right? And I think that's the key. And in this season of my life right now, that's what God is calling me to do. Like, you know, I think I'm supposed to be teaching X, Y, and Z, but God is wanting me to be faithful and obedient to where he has me, right? And if that's for me to be at home, right now, I'm still serving in ministry, don't get me wrong. But really to be right there with my wife, helping her with the kids, right? It's not easy. And they're so young right now, and they're very demanding, right? So I really want to leave her from those things. And the Lord has been blessing it, you know? Since I made the decision, our relationship has been stronger, you know, and we've been, you know, it took us, again, to get both of us on our knees and literally crying out to the Lord. And you know, I believe God is honored in that, you know, and really seeing that his, you know, children coming together as one, getting on their knees before the Lord, and just, Lord, give us a plan for our lives, guide us in our marriage, be with us in the midst of our marriage, Give us wisdom to teach our children, Lord. These are your children. We dedicate upon you. The whole nine, right? Like, really, it's seeing what God can do with a vessel who is willing, and that's our lives. That's your lives. You know, we're willing to walk with the Lord in this generation, this perverse generation that you were talking about. Like, we're special people. God says it in his word, you know, like, not that we're anybody, because we're not, but you know, we're, you know, I believe in my heart that we're considered as remnant. You know, there's millions of people outside of this place right now, and there's 3-4 of us here, right, talking about the things of the Lord, and there's so many people out there just lost, right? So I believe God is honored in this conversation. God is honored in the posture of our hearts, and in the season that we're all in right now. Again, it's encouraging to know that we're not alone, right? Like, we're brothers in Christ who are able to just like rap out, hey, dude, like, not that we need to know every detail. Dude, my wife called me this, I call her, you know, we don't need to know that. Like, dude, like, but pray for us, because, dude, we haven't been clicking. You know, we need prayer. You know, the kids getting overwhelmed. We're both overwhelmed. We're just, you know, we could be saying things we don't mean, right? But, you know, knowing that we can go to one another, and even those who you're really close to, or who you see as mentors, or just like a spiritual father, so to speak, that they're able to pour wisdom into you, and just, you know, the whole world doesn't have to know, per se.
You know, Adam, I know that you're surrounded by a plethora of provision, like, by, you know, you have amazing people around you, but, you know, I wouldn't miss what the Lord's putting on my heart to just let you know, bro, we're here for you, like, in any way at all, bro. Like, and I don't say that like I sense that there's more than, or you're, I'm just being transparent with you, bro. Like, we're here, and when I say we're here, I'm not just saying like, well, let's do another podcast or something like that. Like,
so you don't want to do another?
No, I would love
like,
to.
One is good, no,
I would love to. I've been toying with the idea of us doing another 4-person one, just some characters that I feel like would match. Maybe Ivan joining in with us 4 or something like that.
Yeah,
just because,
cool,
yeah, because there's just a familiarity there, in a lot of the things that we deal with or go through. Maybe Angel, you know, maybe.
Yeah.
Angel.
I mean, even Angel, like, he came on the podcast first, and, you know, I spent a little bit of time with him on a mission trip, but we weren't like homies yet. Came on the podcast, got to know him a little bit more.
Had these kind of conversations.
Yeah, and then it's just like the Lord just like started to build this relationship, and that's really what he asked me today. He's like, "Hey, like, why Adam?" And I was like, you know, honestly, like,
no, Lord, I don't think that's a good idea.
No, not like that. He just wanted to know why I called you, and I was like, you know, like, I want to get to know him. Like, I know him. I know of Adam a lot. You know, he helped me get a house. I've been like kind of brushing elbows a little bit with him in ministry when I was at Golden Springs, but besides that, like, I don't really know. I never heard his story. I knew you kind of had a little bit of a testimony. I knew that much, but I never knew about how you met your wife, Stephanie. I didn't know where you were at right now, because, man, busy schedules and my social disorders that pop up from time to time, where it's like someone texts me, I was like, oh, I'm gonna get back to them, and then never get back to them. Like, dude, all those things.
I think I'm so familiar with it, dude. Like, people call me and they're like, they just need to understand, like, I can't just text back, you know, like, I can't call you, and if I do call you, like, it's by the grace of God. Not that I'm trying to avoid anyone, because
I understand.
It's just
that
we all have a lot.
And Adam, I say this to you, that you are someone who I feel the Lord has shown me over time, like, you are of the same mind of, you know, when it comes to ministry, the word. Someone so much so that I was like, I want this guy to teach when I'm gone, you know, like, and to hear like the fruit of it afterwards. It's like, awesome, dude. Like,
and we enjoy you being part of our life, and to an extent a part of this ministry, not in the sense of like, you know, that you belong in any way, but, you know, just a brother that's a part of here. And I really do from the bottom of my heart that as time goes on, that those kind of relationships will be built. So that I told him about this thing a long time ago. I'm like, hey, I had this kind of like I wouldn't say a vision, because, you know, we are about that. I'm not that guy, bro. I don't do visions and none of that stuff ever, bro. But I wouldn't deny things that God put in my heart. And I told him, like, probably like 10 years ago, I was like, hey, man, I have one day, like, we're going to be speaking at a conference together, dude. And Completely forgot about that. I didn't even. It wasn't like something I prayed about. And thought I said that and I forgot about it. And then so fast forward to like last year, was it? So mid last year. Mid last year, we got to know Angel already. We're like becoming tight with him or whatever. And Angel gets invited to speak at this conference, and then Sal gets invited to speak at this conference, and then so I kind of know the guys putting it together, and I'm like, hey, what's up, dude? I heard you got both those guys on there. Like, oh, for sure. And he shows me his lineup, like full lineup, like this is the guy and this is him and Angel, and there's this other dude on there, and they have like a worship, like a thing. It's just like a schedule set up. I'm like, that's super awesome, bro. Mind you, at this time, like what I had said to you was completely not in my mind at all. I had said that like 10 years ago. I didn't even think about that. I was super excited to see the combo of like Angel and Sal and the thing. So whatever, that's all that it was. It's like the day before the conference, dude, one of the dudes bails. He can't do it. He's like, dude, I can't. I don't know what happened. He bailed out. He didn't have it. And this guy Caesar calls me like, dude, this is out of the blue, dude. I'm so sorry. There's no time, but can you teach at this conference? I'm like, yeah, I'm down. I'll teach at the conference, dude. Literally have to make a U-turn from where I'm going to go back home, right? And like now I'm teaching at a conference like the next day, right? And
not even a Calvary Chapel church, dude.
Yeah, dude.
Wow. Yeah, with 3 Calvary Chapel people.
Calvary Chapel guys, dude. And it's not even a Calvary Chapel church, dude. And we literally, us 3, bro, we went and did this conference, bro. And like I'm sitting, I don't even think of, I still didn't notice that at the time. It's literally when I'm sitting there at the front row, dude, and he's teaching, right? And I think Angel had already gone. You went after, or you went and then he went out. I don't know.
I don't remember.
But like I'm like midway. I'm about to go up and speak, and all of a sudden I remember that moment when I was like, "What the heck?" Like I said like a long time ago. It was like, dude, one day we'll be at a conference or something. This was like he wasn't a pastor, nothing, dude.
Wow.
And so but the funny thing is, dude, is that there's a similar thing that's in my heart, and I've shared this with a couple of my brothers who are kind of in our age bracket, dude, about this vision I have of the next generation, dude, and that's why I do believe these podcasts are about relationship building, transparency. Because you have whatever you think about me, you meet me, small talk, things you've seen about me, heard about me, whatever. That's all, but that's all you know.
All bad things.
Yeah, all bad things. I'm just kidding. I'm certain. Well, you know my wife. You know what I mean. You know my wife and her friends before too. So you know her. Yeah, dude. I came from the world too. So, but it isn't until you sit across from somebody for an extended amount of time that you really start to gauge, like from your own heart, what you perceive in somebody, what they are, what they aren't, all of that, you know. And so I'm just always excited about the relationships being built through this podcast and the future that I think I see as far as, you know, just like-minded brothers who love the Lord, serve God, have raised families, you know, go through the trials of life together in the same season, same time era, what's happening in our world. And it's all just this sort of, you know, same soup. Like we're kind of like, you know, we're similar dishes, and we've been raised by similar people. There's like-mindedness there, and there's edification. There's things that you say that I'm reminded of, I'm sharpened by, you know, and same thing with Sal, you know. So it's been such a pleasure being on this podcast with you, dude. I want you to know that. And I think it's good.
Yeah.
Because I could hear the babies calling, dude.
Yeah.
But we always like to end our podcast with a particular question, and that is, how can we pray for you, dude?
Yeah. Great question. You know what's interesting? Well, just to, you know, preface it.
Take your time, by the way, dude. It's not a forceful end.
Oh, okay. Just, you know, it's been a while since somebody's asked me that. Can you believe that? Literally, it's been a while, and I'm surrounded by godly men all day. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wow. That's powerful, bro. Like, you know, I haven't been asked that. It's been a while. But you can pray for me by just my family, just to be, you know, a godly husband, a godly father. Pray for my wife, pray for her marriage, and then just pray that I get the strength and filled with the Spirit to just continue to be faithful what God's called me to do, you know. Serving in ministry, being available, and making sure, just want to be in line with everything, want to be in line with God's perfect will in my life. Haven't figured it out, everything, but I know that He's given me certain gifts that I'm able to exercise and do. But, just if you can just pray for me for, my family, for wisdom, how to lead my family, and just be sensitive to the leading of His Spirit. I think that's exactly what I need to pray for.
Amen. Yeah. Mikey, why don't you get this one?
Yeah. Father, lift up my brother to you, and I thank you for his honesty and the uniqueness of what you've done, Lord. Sometimes one of my most favorite things is a man who's known failure. I'm reminded of David, who is a man after your own heart, and I love how transparent Adam's been when he taught here and even as he sits here now. I thank you for him, and I lift up, Lord, just his personal life, the calling you've placed on his life, the many things, Lord, that you know better than anybody. There's the elements of those that are close to him, that they know more than those who are far, and then there is his wife who knows more than they know, but surely far beyond any of them is what you know, Lord. But you know the cross that he carries, the weight that he bears, the love that he has for his children, his wife, and for you, Lord. And the transparency of what you know what he is and what he isn't, and yet you call. You say that our calling is irrevocable. You say that your thoughts towards us are good. Your plans, Lord, they won't be moved. I pray for my brother now. I pray for Steph. I lift her up to you. I pray for a freshness to be poured out on her heart, encouragement, and a reminder, Lord, of that love that you sparked in her, and that both the trials and the happy times, Lord, they're built in by you to mold her too. I pray, Lord, that your voice will be clear in Adam's ears with the things that he needs to do more and the things he needs to not do, and where he should speak up and where he should remain silent. I pray that you give him a peace, Lord, beyond whatever disappointment may exist, that he would look past anything that anybody would feel or say or think, and his eyes would be set upon you, and that he would be encouraged this evening. I pray that as he rests his head tonight, that you would do work, and you would give him twice the worth for his rest. And I pray for your magical, amazing, glorious hands to begin doing work in the boys and in the home. We thank you for those that have walked with us along the road, those encouragers, for Minor, for Dave, the brothers and people that have extended love. We ask, Lord, for your voice to be clearer than ever, that this is not a time of us being far away, but a time of us being close to you, a time of us hearing you like never before and becoming more of who you intended for us to be. We love you and we thank you, Lord. Thank you for seeing us through seasons that were difficult, and for your promise that you'll see us through anything that comes. I lift up Adam to you now. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 Thank you, bro.
Of course.
Love you, brother.
Love you too, man.
It's a wrap, man. God bless you, dude.
Mama coming home, I'm in the next chapter. Put away all my credentials, then I crucified the actor. Traded all I thought I wanna be for what I know I'm supposed to be. Walking with